competition at Sun Soil Water Summit 2021. As I think almost everybody's probably familiar at this point, our reason for gathering today, tonight, and tomorrow stems from the work of the Pueblo Food Project, a coalition and an effort that was spurred from Walter Robb, who's here today as one of our judges, and Senator Michael Bennett's office in spring of 2019. And since then, a lot of really awesome stuff has happened with the Pueblo Food Project. And to segue into our pitch competition today, I'm Mark Maddock. I'm the manager of Southern Colorado Innovation Link. We're the startup and tech accelerator program for Southern Colorado, but we also try and do basically anything and everything to help business owners here, especially if they're trying to start a technology or create a product or service business. My counterpart, Megan Moore, is coordinator for Southern Colorado Innovation Link, and she's also the digital asset coordinator, engagement coordinator for the Pueblo Food Project. And over here is Sage Goodwin with Tie-Dye Sheet Productions. Sage is actually based out of the tech campus in Florence, Colorado. If anybody ever drives through Florence, they did something really incredible as one of our skill partners. They bought a 100-year-old high school and turned it into an incubator and co-working space, and they actually have a couple of core tenant companies, and Barnell Precision Ag is actually headquartered out of Emergent Campus in Florence, and they've actually created probably 90 jobs in the last year and a half at that campus, which is incredible for a town of, what, 4,000 people? Yep. Yeah, 90 jobs, tech jobs, yeah, pretty cool. So for our pitch competition today, I will turn the mic over to the judges in a minute here so that they can give a short intro for the audience and for anybody watching this live on YouTube. And I guess first thing for the judges, you guys have all the materials in front of you. The way we're gonna run this is there's 10 companies. Our first one will be over Zoom in a minute here, and then after you score each one, just, I guess, pass it down to your left, and I'll make the piles. So Corey, you're on anchor duties there for taking care of that for me. I will flash the 1 minute card and a 15-second card at you while you're pitching, just so that we stay right on time with everything. I also want to give a special shout out to our sponsors: Colorado Housing and Financing Authority, Startup Colorado, Whole Foods Market, and Greenline Ventures were sponsors for this event today. And that sponsorship money is going directly into the cash prizes. So we have $7,000 in cash prizes that'll be split up into 4 checks, and you guys have that information on there. It's $3,500 for first place in the market validation category, $2,000 for second place, $1,000 for the winner of the idea concept category, which are the first 5 pitches up, and then $500 for an honorable mention in either category. And for everybody else, we broke out the companies by the idea concept and market validation stages, because some of the companies pitching today are that they have an idea or concept and they're just getting into the testing and revenue and hopefully some LOIs with their business. And then we also have other businesses that have existed for, I think, even 5 or 10 years and have been in pretty good revenue and now are looking to ask you guys for help, for mentoring, for connections, and probably for getting on some shelf space at Whole Foods. So with that, we will have this competition until 5 p.m. We'll grab all the scores, we'll tally that up, and then tonight Walter and I will present the checks out at the dinner and award ceremony, and I think I've checked in with everybody for who's attending that. Everybody, I think, is bringing some handouts or samples, so feel free to hand those out to the judges as you come up here. And then I think just logistically, it might make more sense to stand where I'm standing with the microphone right here, and then you may need to just pass it back to the judges when they ask questions if our folks in the back of the room can't hear. So, Megan, am I missing anything yet? Are you sure? Okay, I'll just act like I know what I'm doing. So with that being said, I'll turn it over to our judges to give a quick intro.
Mark, you're doing a great job. My name is Jeff Shaw. I'm the president and CEO of the Pueblo Economic Development Corporation.
Hi, I'm Bill Jordan. I'm regional president for Whole Foods Market, Rocky Mountain region, which means I oversee Colorado, Wyoming, Utah, New Mexico, Kansas, Nebraska. Lots of states.
Hi, I'm Mark Retzloff. I'm a 50-year veteran of the organic and natural foods business. For most of my career, I was in retail with Alfalfa's Markets and Rainbow Groceries. Started at Horizon Organic Dairy and started another dairy called Aurora Organic Dairy. We're the largest producer of organic milk in North America.
Hey everybody, thanks for coming today. Walter Robb, 40 years veteran in the natural food industry, 10 years behind this guy, but always in his trail. But retail all my life, former co-CEO of Whole Foods Market, worked with Bill for many years, and very pleased to be here. We came to Pueblo for the first time as a group in 2019 with after a discussion with Michael Bennett about the idea of really investing in local food systems. So this community has done an absolutely amazing job in that period of time. Monique and team and Mark. I mean, I think we're all blown away by what we're seeing here today. So it's pretty darn awesome.
Well, it's hard to follow these two. I am Carlotta Mast. I am the Senior Vice President of a company called New Hope Network, and we serve the natural and organic industry through trade shows and media research. I guess probably most importantly, I'm a 5th generation Coloradan, so I love seeing what you're all doing, and I love seeing food and agriculture at the heart of the innovation in this community. So really impressed, as Walter said.
I'm going to add to you, Carlotta runs the Natural Food Expo, which if any of you have heard of, this is the largest trade show. It's held in Los Angeles on the East Coast. The trade show that's held in LA is 80,000 people. It is the trade show to go to in the food business. If you want to know what's going on in food, that's where you go, and she runs the whole thing. Besides put all the content together for them, and so she's being a little understated there.
Try not to take out your beer. Hi, my name is Corey Finney. I'm a 6th generation Coloradan. I had to. I'm a founding partner of the Greater Colorado Venture Fund. We're a $17.5 million seed stage fund that invests in companies headquartered exclusively in rural Colorado. Although those qualify as rural under the definition we work with on the state there. 25 investments currently across the state, and getting ready to go after Fund 2 so we can keep the activity going.
Your card? Did you get your card? No. Will you? Yeah.
All right, well, last thing before we get started here, I'll go through the pitch order. So first up is going to be Mesa Foods over Zoom. Second is Pueblo Micro Farms. Third, Green Zone Ecosystems. Fourth, Recovery. Fifth, Fruit for Good. And then in the market validation category, Homestead Hut, Vito Bella Pasta Company, Colorado Yardbirds, Manpaw Hard Seltzer, and then Apple Valley Cider Company. I think last thing is there should be some handouts on some of the chairs if anybody wants to look at the order of the pitches. And other than that, I guess if the judges are ready, I will introduce Caroline Ebinger from Mesa Foods. Can you hear me, Caroline? All right. Feel free to start, and all the judges are in position right now.
Okay, great, thanks. Hi, I'm Caroline from Mesa Foods. So we all love food. That's why we're here. When we're at home, we eat tasty, nutritious food that we've worked hard to see is sourced sustainably. But then we go backpacking. We all know what happens. We focus on caloric density and that which we love about food, taste, nutrients, sustainability, go out the window. Maybe we take some spices from our pantry or eat a multivitamin to supplement this, but essentially food has become sustenance. At Mesa, we're working to change this with our first product, Trail Spice. Trail Spice is a spice and nutrient blend. We're the only product at the intersection of flavor, nutrition, and outdoor food. Within our 100-calorie pouch, we use nuts, seeds, spices, and other elements like nutritional yeast to provide the taste, nutrients, vitamins, and calories that you need on the trail. And these nutrients are also beneficial for your overall daily diet, and this is something unique to the industry, but that is extremely important for longer-term hikers like thru hikers. So to use our product, all you have to do is open your pouch, add it into your existing backcountry meal, and you get all of the benefits that we have talked about. We have two flavors, this Tex-Mex flavor and a second, more unique Bear Beret flavor that is helping to make other communities feel more included in the outdoor market. So first, we are targeting the outdoors woman. This person is very passionate about their outdoor brands and the outdoors in general, but really focuses on caloric density when they're eating in the backcountry. They're extremely loyal, and we've already begun to target and see positive results from this group. Then we'll move into the weekend warrior, a slightly more casual outdoor user, and finally into those aspirational adventurers who may even use our product at home. This is a well-trodden path in the outdoor industry. Cliff, for example, has done this as well. We believe that the U.S. market trends also back up this approach. We've estimated a $1.7 billion backpacking food market in the U.S. alone, over 140 million nights backpacked every year. We've also seen an increase during COVID, and we're hoping that this continues over the coming years. So far in 2021, we have launched our product. So we're for sale on our website. We're selling only direct to consumer right now. And we have produced at a local commercial kitchen. And we are planning for the remainder of the year to do a second production run and a marketing push going into the holidays. In the future, we are hoping to continue with this recipe optimization and manufacturing our streamlined process. And we've already been in talks with co-packers about doing this in the coming months. We're also planning a retail expansion and additional products further down the line. So Tony and I are the primary people behind Mesa right now, and we are both experienced in, we believe, the three main areas that we need for success here. So business, Tony comes from consulting, and I'm also an MBA, the outdoors, and the environment. We're also both Masters of Environmental Management students. So how has Trail Spice been received? First, we are currently selling 3 of our pouches together for $13.50, and you use at most 1 pouch per outdoor meal. And we have sold in our soft launch to over 55 customers in our extended network. And again, our goal here is to validate our market. And that we have done. We have a high net promoter score, and we have heard great things from people on the trail, both our friends and people from our extended network. So today, we are hoping for your support in allowing us to continue this production run and marketing effort coming up to the holidays. To join our advisory board. Thank you.
Hey, we're gonna need you to repeat that last 20 seconds.
Yeah,
We had
sorry.
the only glitch of the day.
I'm repeating this part?
Yeah, on your ask.
Okay, great. Would love, oh my gosh, hold on, let me just change. Can you guys still hear me?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, great. Yes, we would love support in our production run and marketing effort coming up for the holiday season. And for those interested in our product, we're also looking for mentorship and to build up our advisory board.
Awesome. And I'm going to pass the mic over to the judges for their questions and
Mark, to be
comments.
clear, is there a specific dollar ask, or did I miss that?
No, there was not.
Can you ask me that?
Is there any dollar ask?
Yeah, we think that the production run should be about $2,000. That's roughly the same as it was in the beginning of the year, and that allows us to produce 500 units, and we think that will be great for continuing market validation. And we want to spend about $1,000 on continued market validation in our marketing efforts for the remainder of the year.
How are you going to start selling? Is it going to be just D2C, or are you looking to go wholesale as well?
Yeah, we are, so currently we're just doing D2C, and we've talked to larger retails like REI who have told us that we need to grow and have like a greater facility in order to put our product in a retailer that large, but we're in talks with a lot with several smaller retails right now in Santa Cruz, California. We're talking to some smaller people there, and we're hoping that that might be possible before the end of the year.
Great presentation. How are you currently sourcing your ingredients, things like the turmeric and other ingredients?
Yeah, that's a great question. We were lucky enough to find one primary source of our spices, and because we're so small, it was really important to us to get a source a supplier that we felt was sustainable and that we could trust, because we weren't able to do all of this due diligence. So essentially we have one fairly large US-based supplier of most of our spices, and almost all of them, or maybe all of them, are organic.
Yeah, great presentation, thank you. You know, the old rule in marketing is if you can't be first in a category, create a new category. And I think you've just done that here, which is I don't know what you call the category, trail spice, but it doesn't exist right now. So that's an interesting idea. One thing, if you're going to do that, would be on your packaging as a retailer is, you know, putting a punch or something in there so it easily pegs and is so that you can show use the package and show the product. It's probably going to sell that way, or in some sort of a counter pouch, something that would allow the retailer multiple ways to be able to display it. I think your approach to market this year makes a lot of sense. It's measured, it's thoughtful, it's sensible in terms of your goals for this year. D2C direct. The question is really how are you going to drive traffic to your site, because it's gotten it used to be 35 cents. It's now well over $2 to get that sort of traffic, and so that challenges that business model quite a bit from even when you went to business school. So that part wasn't really clear, how you intend to get the traffic to your site without the partnership of a retailer or somebody else that's already got traffic. I think I also wrote down that your price point at $13.50 for 3. If I do the math right, if you sold them in 2, you'd get although you want to get the higher ring at $13.50. If you were 2, you'd be below $10, and there's something about that that makes it very approachable. Maybe there's a win-win here. You do that, and you also do a 4-pack. Who somebody just wants to go for it. But the 3 is kind of an odd. $13.50 is kind of an odd price point relative to, you know, Mark taking things to market that are small like this. It might seem like a better value for dollars if you're down there on the 2 and the 4, something like that. And I think the final thing is just, you know, I think that's it. I think you just did a very nice job. And you know, how does it taste? And how easy is it to use? And if I put it in the Dutch oven, does it actually stir? And those are things you can't know until you actually try them. I assume you've tried them on the trail yourself, but obviously in the end the customer has to say, this is something that I this really works easily into my routine, and it tastes good. It doesn't clump up or cause problems, and so that's something that just has to continue to it has to be proven through actual experience. Mark?
Then we have time for one more question.
You gotta get Bill.
You know, I had a couple questions here. I completely agree with Walter on the price. I think 2 for $8.99, which should give you the same $4.50 a bag, would be much more attractive to consumers. I had a couple things here for you. You're only direct to consumer at this time? Okay.
And we do have a 4-pack, but the 2-pack is a good idea that we haven't.
Okay. You know, you don't, these aren't certified organic, these ingredients, are they? Okay, so
Some of our ingredients are, but overall we're not.
Okay. Okay, so you can't put the organic seal on it because you're not certified. All right.
Yeah.
I think that's important in the future as you move forward. You know, I think one of the things, you know, is what kind of traction? You know, where are you going to sell these things? I mean, I would say that ideally you would be in the outdoor stores, okay, and on a rack there where they have all their other stuff for outdoor eating and things like that. You know, I think it also could go into spice and herb spice in retailers, okay? But, you know, that's not a big category there at that level. That's the concern I have with this, on this. I think that's why I think it's not as, my feeling is that this is a product that really is gonna have to prove its mettle in the outdoor stores first on that.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, we're definitely planning to primarily go in outdoor stores as opposed to grocery stores, though, and that's something that we, discussed extensively. And another way that we are hoping to get the word out, because your points are good too about just price of online advertising going so high recently. So we've been planning to, and we have gone on the trail ourselves and shared our product with backpackers and worked a little bit with influencers, which can also be expensive, but we've seen good results with them. So really helping people see and use the product because that is so important for something like this.
Bill, did you have one last comment or question?
No, I think Mark said it well. I think it's definitely going to be the independent stores like that, and obviously I would focus in around certain mountain towns. Obviously Colorado, Wyoming, Jackson, Bozeman, especially in season when you have all the hikers. You just set records at Yellowstone and Teton Park this year for attendance. A lot of those are hikers, and you kind of honing that in as you go into this next season. I think would be great for the brand.
Thank you. That's great advice from all of you.
Awesome. Thank you, Carolyn. Everybody will give you an awesome round of applause. And she's still on. Yeah, I was just going to say, to close out, they have your packets and stickers to take home with them, so they can reach out to you for anything else.
One last thing is just when you have data like market size, TAM, or something like that, you got to put the sites on your slides. People otherwise think you make up the number. So that's just a housekeeping error. Okay.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Aren't you supposed to make up the numbers?
What?
Aren't you supposed to make them up?
Well, a lot of entrepreneurs do. Goes up and to the right.
Forever and always.
The hockey stick projections don't work anymore? Good. All right, so I'm going to welcome up Kyle Boyd from Pueblo Micro Farms as the second company. And
You guys want to pass some scores down?
Our kid's gonna finish them out every time, so.
Sorry?
Gotta give us just a little bit to finish
Yeah.
them out every time. It's hard to do all that.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, it's hard to get it done now. What's the name of the
Pueblo microgreens.
Oh, I like it. I like it. Sorry, I know something. Pueblo microgreens?
Mm-hmm. You guys just give me the thumbs up when you're ready. Did everyone get 2 bags? All the judges should have 2 bags.
One more. Everybody got their scores and you got them all?
All right. And you'll just. Yep.
Okay, thanks so much for having me here today. So my name's Kyle, and I'm an RN, and I'm here because I want to grow healthy and accessible food for the people of Pueblo. I have some contact information there. So 2 markets, 1 solution. We all know the trope of picky kids, right? They don't want to eat their vegetables. It's hard to get the micronutrients for kids that are growing. Doing things like adding cheese to their broccoli kind of defeats the purpose, right? So getting kids to eat vegetables regularly is definitely a problem. And then we have health conscious, right? Those who are kind of always looking for the next thing, for really micronutrient dense kind of foods, and especially those kind of foods that can be accessible, especially in a smaller town like Pueblo. So, solution, microgreens. They are super nutritious. Depending on the crop, 1 to 2 ounces of microgreens contains 10 times the amount of micronutrients as the full-grown vegetable. Microgreens are quick and easy to grow. You can turn around a whole crop, again, depending on the crop, in about 10 days. And they're an incredibly versatile product. So put them on all kinds of things, make pesto with them, on soups, salads, sandwiches, anything, almost anything you could put them on. You'll see there on the left is some sunflower microgreens. You'll see that's in one of the bags you have there, the one that doesn't have a bunch of different varieties. So, what I'm proposing is Pueblo Micro Farms. We're growing the change we want to see here in Pueblo. And you see that's a picture of the grow setup there. And some of you might be familiar with what microgreens are, some of you may not. And what I really want to do for microgreens is much like what cuties did for clementines, right? Not a lot of people maybe knew what clementines were or how you eat them until cuties came along and really popularized them through branding. And so I want to do that with a Crunchies product for microgreens and really market them and lose the microgreens term that not a lot of people are familiar with, and instead brand them as Crunchies, which is a approachable and kind of kid-friendly term. So what are we actually going to do right now? Well, the goal is to sell weekly subscriptions to the local area and grow the microgreens to order, and then deliver them weekly to the consumer's home. And so growing microgreens is easy if you're not familiar. You seed the trays, you kind of cover them for 2 to 4 days, then you put them under lights for 5 to 8 days, and then you harvest and package. Pretty easy, right? But there's a lot of hard things about microgreens: planning and logistics, process improvement, marketing, consistency. And as an RN for the last 10 years, I can tell you I am doing all of those things actually every day, right? When I work in a nursing home, sometimes I'll have 40 plus patients. It takes a lot of time management and planning and managing all of their care. Process improvement is constant in the healthcare industry. And marketing, while I've never marketed a product, taking what a doctor says and translating it to the patient so it's accessible and makes them actually want to do it is 100% a nurse's job, and I've been doing that for 10 years. And then consistency. Obviously anything you do in healthcare has to be consistent. You have to do it the same way every time, both for patient safety and yours. So while I've never farmed, I do consider myself to have a green thumb, and I don't do these kinds of things every day. So where we are right now, I'm overhauling my grow space to meet commercial standards. Then we'll go to friends and family production, hopefully complete some regulatory requirements, and then launch website and begin a marketing campaign to get subscriptions, identify growth opportunities, and then scale up. So this is how we make money. Cost me about $5 per 10 by 20 tray. It gets a little higher or lower depending on the crop. Average price is about $6 per 2 ounces, and that's the yields I get depending on the crop, and those are the profits. So you can see even at $6 it would go down from there depending on bulk, but that's kind of the starting price per 2 ounces, except for sunflower, which has a much higher yield, so it starts at $4. That's about what 2 ounces look like. You will have about around 1 ounce of sunflower, and then the other mix you have there is just kind of a salad mix that has radish, onion, chive, daikon, and a little bit of sunflower for bulk also. So what I'm asking for right now is mentoring. Obviously I'm a new entrepreneur and going into an industry that I think I have translatable skills but no direct experience, and industry advice in general. And obviously I know from working in healthcare networking and connections, that's what it's all about. So I'm looking for all that from you all. And that's my presentation. Thank you.
I get to go first. I'm not, I guess, coming from a perspective of a family that's got small kids, right, and have a hard time. I guess my question is, and I'm just trying to translate in my head, and not a criticism, but I'm trying to figure out if I'm having trouble with my children eating what looks like a green to start with, how am I going to do that?
So often, So oftentimes with kids, the issue is actually more of like a texture thing, especially with like cruciferous vegetables, broccoli, cauliflower, and also those vegetables tend to have a really strong brassica flavor. Because these are grown and cut early, a lot of them have kind of a sweet flavor, and they're all easier. You can put, again, half an ounce of that on a hamburger, and it's like they've eaten a head of broccoli, half a head of broccoli. So it's just a lot more accessible, easier to work into the foods they are already eating without having to do a whole bunch of extra effort, right? You can imagine putting, again, a half ounce of those on a ham and cheese sandwich you send to school with them, right? As opposed to a piece of lettuce. And they're gonna get 10 times or more the amount of micronutrients from that.
A few things I would say. One is, as you start your business, you might actually think about going the restaurant side initially. That way you don't have to worry about packaging, retail packaging, setting all that up, putting all that cost into your business to start, and kind of go that route. So you hit local restaurants, you use your local microgreens. I think you'll also, as you get into bigger grocery stores, you're going to have to work through all your food safety issues on greens, and microgreens have a lot. So it's one of those ones where, from a food safety standpoint, we really watch. So just that may be something you want to kind of keep an eye on and think about as you go through that growing method. You see a lot more hydroponic aspect of microgreens being grown nowadays, so that you don't have the soil, which tends to create a few issues.
So I've been growing for a while now, and I actually would push back a little bit. I think people overcomplicate the growing process, and I have very little issue with fungus. I've had maybe 1 tray out of 100 I have fungal issues with. And I'm actually working with the state, the local health department, because to sell to restaurants initially, I got to go to the state, which is actually a more laborious process than going local. So that's kind of why I had that initial approach. Because even to get into grocery stores, from what I was told, I have to go through the state wholesaling process.
Yeah, once you sell to anyone who does retail,
right,
whether restaurant, grocery store, it's just, when you go restaurant, you don't have to do all the packaging and have all the other disclaimers that go along with microgreens. And
good point.
Here's the one thing though, you always have to remember this, right? One bad thing,
sure,
can end the company, right?
For sure.
Or, so that's just one of the ones to work through. I just think, as you think about it, so going direct initially is probably a great idea. Make sure you have your LLC, right? So you have yourself protected.
Yes.
And then, if you think about expansion from that, I would go restaurant next, and then the last thing I would do is retail pack.
Okay, cool, thank you.
Bill covered the key one for me, which is restaurant and food services, because then you can give them a bigger package. You don't have to have labeling. It's just clear.
Sure.
It's easy to do that kind of work. And they're pretty regular. Once they put it on their menu, it's there. I mean, actually, universities and colleges and junior, like places like this, where students.
Yes,
ideal-
CSUP is on my list
Yeah,
of
it's an ideal
possibilities.
place for this. Actually, I felt I agree with Bill on this, that hydroponics is one thing, but growing and air growing we're finding that it reduces some of the challenges that you have through that, so it's something to look at.
Sure.
If you need, there's a great operation in Denver that Sally Herbert runs with all veterans, okay, that I could introduce you to. You can
Yeah.
go down. She loves to show people what she's doing.
Great.
Okay. I think you have to be, your customer segment, I think, is important as well. And getting clear on who that is.
Mhm.
That's really important out there, because, you could be, beating on that rock and not getting anywhere because you're just not going after the right segment.
Sure.
On that.
Yeah, first of all, I just want to, as a one human being to another, say I love that you're making such a conscious choice at this juncture in your life to assess your skills and abilities, but then take this leap. Not everybody has it in them to be an entrepreneur and to think that way. So I commend you.
Thank you.
And all the folks who are here today are thinking about their own lives. That you've made this sort of choice for yourself is really good. There's a thing in this which you could call unit economics, right? And you gave us a kind of a peek at behind the kimono, but you didn't really build that out. So the profit, you put it in terms of dollars, we didn't convert a percentage. You didn't say if an average order came would be X dollars and it would cost me this much labor to produce it. So we didn't really get a full look at what your business model actually looks like. That needs to be built out. It's pretty easy to do based on the data you already have, but we need a clearer sense of what what a load would look like. If you say you went to restaurants, you'd sell them X, and then it would cost you Y to build it, and the profit per load would be this, and then how are you going to deliver it, or how are you building in the cost of delivery? So we need a more fleshed out business model, not just you make this much for this.
So like line by line?
Well, I think the others here can help you with that. Mark can help with that in terms of what the unit economics of this business are going to look like, depending on where you end up selling. But you've got some work to do on that. The subscription model, I will say, if you do pursue that, is a good business model because it's recurring revenue. You don't have to go by the customer every single time, and it does work, and it's very sticky. I can just look at Amazon to tell that folks are staying in there. Once they sign up, they stay on there. So it is a good business model to pursue if you can get the subscriptions. You didn't really indicate to us how you would get the subscriptions, and so we're left to guess on that. You'd have to give us a more fleshed out plan for how you intend to go sign up the first 100 customers. But if I were you, I'd be creative and come up with some, stunt or something fun that people got to sign up, like the F-150 just did for electric trucks. Come up with something fun that says you got to get in on this and be the first 100 and you get X, Y, Z or whatever.
Okay.
And then I would just say third, I agree with Mark that you put up the targeted customer segments, but very general. And you're here in Pueblo. Part of your advantage is you're competing because you're just in Pueblo. And so you should have a lot more information about who these customers will be in your two categories. I think it was parents and kids, the two, getting PCC's help here or University of Colorado Pueblo to help you quantify.
So I do have GIS data working with the city of Pueblo.
Well, it didn't show up there today.
Yeah, I was worried about time, to be honest, but yeah.
Well, that's all right, but this is feedback, so
definitely.
It's not negative feedback. It's just saying you got to dial in on, so you don't leave the investor thinking like, well, he doesn't really understand who he's serving. I mean, how many of those folks are there in Pueblo? And if you got 10% of them, you could get X sales, and all of a sudden it starts to make sense. So,
got it.
Yeah, and then I think finally, I went to Bill's point. I think that the regulatory framework, all that stuff is real, and so just making sure that even if you don't cover it in your presentation, because it's not the guts of it. The guts of it's what you're doing for Pueblo. But you got to let us know that you've covered the base and you've got a thought about that, so we are not left wondering if you thought about what it takes to actually do something like this where it involves fresh food. So, but overall, this goal, obviously, of healthy, accessible food for Pueblo, like your compatriot Mike did from Slow Roast, it's opening up the grocery store. This is good stuff, really good stuff, and it's right where we need to go right now. So,
thank you.
Here's Carlotta.
We have time for one more.
Well, I'll keep
Tough,
it
man.
brief.
You are tough.
I have to be.
I found your idea about branding these microgreens as crunchies for kids. I was eating it right as you were saying that. I was like, this works. And so that would, you know, obviously takes a lot of dollars and it takes effort, but I think there's a concept there that could really work for getting kids to want the crunchies on top of whatever else they're eating. So I found that compelling.
Thank you.
And they're really good.
That was quick. I think we can do one more, right?
No, I was just, they're delicious.
They're really good. So just one final point is I have done hydroponics, and I decided to just go to soil because I did several tests, and I actually did blind tests, double blind, as you know, coming from healthcare, double blind randomized trial basically of my own design that tested different soils against different hydroponic methods, and the soil won out on flavor and weight every single time without exception. So that's why I decided to go through soil. I source it locally, or not locally in Colorado, through a company called ProGrow. It's organic. They make it here all from Colorado soil. So that is a point that I like to make for that. But thank you all so much. I really appreciate it.
Up next, we will have Green Zone Ecosystem, and we are gonna set up the slides, and then Megan is gonna try and adjust the lighting so that our live stream is not affected by the glare over here. One other comment for the people presenting that I forgot to add, I'm sorry, Kyle. Feel free to take your mask off once you're up here, enough space, so that you can speak really well.
Take it off when we speak, or take it off all the time?
When you speak.
Not me or you.
I don't make the rules.
Like a
All right.
smoothing height at that
And
Oh yeah, I'll come to this side.
yeah, you get first side, and then just right is typically order. There you go.
Thank you, Mark. Hello, my name is Jackson Valenzuela. I grew up in this community. I finished my degree at CSU Pueblo in chemistry, and since that time I've worked in some labs, I've worked in some farms, and a few of them were startups, so it's been a fun ride. In this past year, I didn't want to waste any time, so I gathered some friends and we started a company of our own. Our company is called EcoCash Incorporated, and this is our first line of products, Green Zone Ecosystems. Our vision, plain and simple, is to manufacture and sell a mobile greenhouse that's on a trailer. To grow the future's farmers, our customers will bring their farms to you. The solution is simple. It's called the Grow and Go Greenhouse. It's upgradable and modular. The component swaps are easy. It enables year-round growing in multiple conditions. This is an investment that the customer keeps with them throughout multiple living situations. Think of all the renters you know in your life. They can park it anywhere and sell their produce live from the farm itself. That means they have professionally optimized growing conditions from Arizona to the Adirondacks, from Washington State, where I live in Seattle, to Washington, D.C. Here are two case studies. Emily works at a Montessori school, and she has been farming for a long time. She wants to garden for her own food and to teach her students what it's like to grow their own food. Isaac works in the corporate industry doing market research, and he wants a turnkey business that he can leave his job with and be his own boss. Think of Uber. So we need a flexible solution and a dependable solution. What's their problem? These are real people who want to become farmers, but they don't have anywhere to farm. That's why we have adaptable product specifications. So quality greenhouse, if you know how to farm, you get the basic model and you just outfit it the way you want, whether it's soil, hydroponics, aeroponics, you decide. If you want the premium system that has growing systems, automation, a business plan, and market connections included, you go for that item. And this is calculated with a 20 to 30% profit margin with cost of goods sold and labor included. So look at the potential to be your own boss. We'll take the microgreens example. From researchandmarkets.com, there's a 7.5% growth expected in the microgreens market over the next 10 years. So they're hot. With our model, our customers can net $1,000 weekly conservatively. So we estimate they can grow 50 to 70 pounds of microgreens per week. That's 35 trays at about 1 to 2 pounds. And if they're netting at a conservative price, $30 per pound, their payback period is about 2 months on 1 unit, the premium model. That's for someone who's really aggressive and wants to monetize this. Oh. So these are, our customers are going to build our market. As you can tell, there isn't a market yet. Our primary customers are young professionals like Isaac and Emily. They're urban and suburban renters. There are some farms that are going to want to use our product to take their produce straight to market, whether it's at a farmer's market they already attend or a farmer's market that they start themselves. We have strategic partners in mind too, restoration projects, tiny home communities, schools, nonprofit organizations. We're going to gather our stakeholders together and create a buy one, give one sales model. And that's how we double down on our impact. So using the expertise of our growers and some of the funds from our premium customers, as well as the capacity of our community partners, we'll create a scholarship program for young apprentices to learn how to farm so that they can grow food for their grandparents that they're taking care of. Or it could be a college internship program or a high school club so that people can learn. Thank you. This is our core team here at EduCash Incorporated. Myself, I'm a research chemist in Seattle, as well as a sustainable farming expert. I've worked for the Grow House, for InFarm, and a few other companies. My friend Eric Lopez is a building contractor, skilled tradesman. Really, I trust his leadership in business a lot. Ross Mazer has an MBA from CSU Fort Collins. He's a master's mechanical engineer, architectural drafter, biofuels consultant. Isaac here is in the room. He's got a master's in social science. As I say, he does market research. Franklin Wanguma is also in the room. He's got a master's in chemistry from CSU Pueblo. He's interested in food security. Brett Weep, he started a nonprofit in Denver. We also added 5 more people to the team just in the last 2 months. We're in search of mentorship for product launch, customer discovery, manufacturing expansion, sales, and distribution. And that's it.
Great, thank you. Love the bolo tie. Always appreciate your bolo.
Thanks, man.
But it's not clear to me. What do you need to get to market? Like, love the concept. It makes a ton of sense. What are you?
Great.
What are you missing?
Thank you. That's a great question. So right now we have about 70% of the money we need for our prototype. So that's $2,500 out of $3,500 for our budget, and we're all working full-time jobs. So just kind of logistics until we can build it. We're ready to build it this winter, and who knows, maybe we'll have some sales pre-ordered by Christmas. And then for part of our first marketing push, we will do this expert farming model, doing microgreens, bringing them straight to market at farmers markets. That's what we're doing, and what we're looking for is getting those pieces in place so that when we do get some pre-sales, it's not a supply chain issue.
This is a cool idea for giving young professionals a meaningful side gig, so I like that. And I work with a lot of young professionals that are very excited about their community gardens, and I'm just wondering, how do you plan to reach them? How are you going to, connect with your target market?
That is a really great question. Right now we're working with our friends and doing some primary or preliminary interviews to see what the interest is and what people really want. So first off, we're definitely going to start with the people we know and the nonprofit organizations that we know. Like, there are a few here in Pueblo. The I Will Project is one. They have a hydroponics learning lab that's nearby East High School, and so they do educational stuff there. So that's one organization we're already hoping to work with.
Again, you're part of a generation that gives this older group hope. hear somebody stand up and say that they want to do this sort of thing is really, really meaningful. Why we love hanging out with you. So, again, I'm going to say unit economics. You know, you spouted off the fact that somebody could do 35 packages, one of it, 35 like that, so and pay back 2 months. Yeah, but it's not really presented in a way that you know, in a situation where somebody could say this. If somebody bought this, showing the 2 bag crate, show, you know, present it. Mark can help you reassemble this information in a way that people are used to looking at the guts of the business model. So I think you want a little refinement there. Second of all, it's not clear to me exactly what's, you know, you don't compete in a vacuum. You compete in a very competitive marketplace. And you didn't mention any of the competitors or the alternatives, and so you're not coming to market with something. There are portable greenhouses out there, so you always want to be thinking about what's the competition, what's the alternative, what would somebody pay for that, how is yours different or better? You know, the old, what's the better mousetrap? How do you have a better mousetrap than what's out there already? And that wasn't clear to me how yours will be different than those things that are out there right now. There are, you know, because there are other mobile, so that question needs to be answered more fully. And,
sure.
And then I think third was, I love the three-tier approach. I think that's really smart early on for you to figure it out. That where you get your gross margin is not necessarily in your entry product, but if you're able to get that customer in and then take them up, right. You're able to you can earn more profit on those premium models like that. And I think that was a very smart to kind of fashion those 3 levels like that, and you can price them accordingly. I actually think you underpriced level 2 and level 3 a little bit.
I think so. I just want to make sure that we're able to work with as many people as quickly as possible and let that be part of our competitive advantage.
So one of the things that you can look at, I mean, you know, once you sell this unit to somebody, you've lost contact with that customer, so to speak. So if you can actually also supply the supplies that they need, the seeds, those other types of things,
that's exactly
okay,
right.
Then you actually have an ongoing relationship where you have a revenue stream with them, where they're not at that time. It also helps you in understanding how people are using your product, and you know what kind. So it could be only for microgreens where you're seeing most of it, so then you concentrate there, or it could be flowers or whatever it is. But that gives you a better idea because you're actually seeing how they're using it by what they're buying to grow it. Okay,
yeah, totally.
That's really important as you build something out, because you only have one contact with them, selling them the product, unless there's something wrong with it or they need another one. So you know, I think it's important once you've got their interest to be able to keep their interest.
Great, thank you very much.
Making sure we still can talk. No, I mean, I love it. I actually think it's kind of a really cool concept. I think that you could really go through and broaden your thought process on who you could actually sell these to. So if you stop and you think of like campsites, it could be something where they could do a community garden for people who are camping and do some cool stuff. So kind of really walking through and saying, hey, here it would work in this kind of urban environment. It might work for colleges in some aspects. It might work in some like home associations where an association actually buys 2 or 3, and the association, the neighborhood actually, you know, then maintains it and works through. So I think you could really go through and be really creative on who you could sell these to.
Yeah, that's great.
Really sit down.
There's a community, I think, in Lakewood that instead of building their suburb around a golf course, it's a community farm. But this is a way for a community who doesn't have that space to already do that.
Yeah, it's like co-op in a box.
Yeah. I think it's really cool. I think it'd be do some cool stuff with it.
Thank you.
It's a great idea. My question is, I know your price point when you talked about you're building your prototype right now.
Right.
Is that correct? So are you going to be building those yourself, or are you going to be third party building those?
Yeah, Eric Lopez.
Okay.
He does steel buildings.
Okay.
We're going to do our prototype just with 2x4s to get off the ground.
But do you anticipate later having a third party doing it, or are you going to be manufacturing these yourself? Or are you going to be just in the selling side?
You know, there are a lot of companies that are like doing tiny home manufacturing that probably have a really good system going. And so maybe generation 1 and 2 we do ourselves, and then we'll work with the manufacturer generation 3.
Okay. There's probably some local manufacturers also that might be able to help you with the trailers as far as the build out, because they do work with some of the tiny home and some of the other builders where they're contracting that stuff out.
Yeah, and we're really eager to do that, especially so we can drop our materials cost as quickly as possible.
They'll be able to use that.
Yeah.
Certainly a cheaper way to do it, or an inexpensive way to do it.
Yeah.
Good.
Thank you, Mark.
Yeah, no problem.
So, what do you guys think about the lights? We just turned them off, turned them back on. It was just for the benefit of trying to see if the live stream could
right.
Okay, I was kind of thinking it's probably hard for you guys to write up here. So we'll turn it back on. So I will call up Recovery.
What's the company?
Recovery, R-E-K-I-V-E-R-Y.
Close. K-A-I. It's on the handouts. So
The domain was really cheap.
Audrey's just handing out a quick little brochure. Thank you. Let's see. Oh. Sorry. Nice. Perfect.
You guys give us your thumbs up when you're all set.
Two more source. Need 2 more. Is that both of them? Yep. Good. We're good. Take it away.
Okay. All right. Hi, everyone. My name is Natasha Lloyd, and I'm so excited to be presenting Recovery to you today. And Audrey, Recovery's other co-founder, was the one that was handing out those small brochures. We're all here in support of the Pueblo Food Project event, so pretty safe for me to assume that we all appreciate our local foods. But sometimes we miss the farmer's market, our one chance to get our favorite sourdough from local baker Erica. Or we can't get to the farm stand, and now we've missed our shot to get local produce from farmer Alex. It's hard for us to always be able to access our local food suppliers, and they're actually having the same challenge with accessing us. There is a disconnect here, so Recovery decided to look into it. We surveyed nearly 1,000 Northern Coloradans, and we learned that 95% of consumers say that they would buy local food regularly if it were more convenient. And of those that enjoy going to the farmers markets and choose to buy food there, 73% of them are still missing 2 or more of those markets every month because of clashing schedules. So there is a gap here with lots of opportunity. We also listened to Colorado's small suppliers. And when I say listened, I mean we really listened. This is us sitting on flipped over buckets in a farmer's crop tunnels. We learned from them that 80% of these small suppliers are looking for more convenient sales channels into the local market, and we're hearing that today as well. So there is a challenge for both our consumers and local food suppliers, and Recovery is bringing that solution. Recovery is recovering local food networks, and we are a proud Colorado public benefit corporation. The solution? Modular marketplaces inside renovated shipping containers. We are combining the concepts of a farmer's market, a grocery store, and a consignment store to bring the needed convenience to local food systems. Our consumers walk into our market, obviously the shelves will be lined with beautiful local foods, and they are met with the convenient experience by the fact that we are located downtown or in an accessible location. We accept SNAP for inclusivity, and we are open long hours, 6 days of every week to bring the overdue convenience into local food shopping. For Recovery's suppliers, we manage their inventory on their behalf, providing continuous updates of that inventory. We market and promote their brands on their behalf, and we even manage their sales tax and donations when necessary because of our partnership with the Food Bank of Larimer County. So we are bringing our suppliers the demanded convenient sales channel into the local market. Our revenue is dismally low, according to USDA. Realize I didn't put the website there, took that note, but this is the USDA's information. $14 is the national average for small suppliers going through traditional retail, which is far too low. We also have optional memberships for our consumers, which come with various benefits. We have a 4-phase growth plan, starting with our MVP, which is opening in downtown Fort Collins in April 2022, so it's coming up soon. From there, we will be opening an investment round to raise capital for our additional 2 expansions in 2023, followed by 4 in 24, and our growth plan from there is to move into a franchise model to bring more impact to more places. We are now moving quickly. We have had fantastic traction, which began with Audrey and I, Recovery's co-founders, meeting in our MBA, where we launched and worked a successful non-profit which addressed food access during the challenges of COVID. From there, Recovery continued to progress. We had a successful Kickstarter where we raised $20,000 to contribute towards our construction costs. We have 137 community backers with that campaign, and we, without spending $1 on marketing, we already have 40 local suppliers signed up for our first marketplace. And now we are looking for your connections. We are growing our board of advisors, looking for franchising experience. We are looking for locations and contacts for additional locations in Colorado. And we're looking to build our connection of passionate investors for our investment round next year. Thank you for providing us this time to share Recovery's mission of recovering local food networks. Which end? This end? Oh, he's pointing the other way.
You know, there's a lot of this. I guess my only question is, so the shipping containers, are you doing all the manufacturing or the design yourself, or are you outsourcing them?
In the MVP, we have a small team of contractors, and we are very hands-on with it, but that's not our core competency. And as soon as we expand beyond our MVP, that's not something we're going to be responsible for.
A company you might want to reach out to, and it's not in this business, but there's a company in Pueblo called Indie Dwell, and they manufacture houses. They started doing it. It's actually came out of Boise, but it's manufacturing affordable housing out of shipping containers. So they have a lot of experience on renovating shipping containers, putting them in housing, but also doing a traditional model too. So you might want to reach out to them. I can put you in contact with them, but they can probably walk you through kind of the thought process on what they see on heating and cooling and insulating and everything possible.
The insulating and things. Perfect. Thank you so much.
It's a public benefit corporation.
Oh, cool. Nice.
So on the concept, to understand it, is the local growers or local producers, are they selling to you and then you're selling, or are they selling direct? So you're just doing the middle person.
Exactly. So that's why it's consignment. So it's pretty unique in the food space. It really doesn't exist. It challenges a lot of current permits and codes and things like that, but that's part of the benefit, is that it's challenging that and meaning that the returns can be higher. So we manage it on their behalf without owning it, and so it's owned by the supplier until the point of purchase in Recovery's location, at which point then the consumer owns it. We just manage that and return most of that margin back to the supplier.
So how do you pay for the labor that's going to go into that model?
Yeah, great question. So we have the shelf rental fees, which are the more consistent. So I have a couple of slides I'm going to go through. So this is our really conservative first year monthly gross sales. This is within the MVP, so obviously it develops from here, but the gross sales are much more, they fluctuate a lot more because of the seasonality, but then the stability that we get with our net rev is because of the shelf rental fees. So basically we quantified the cost of goods sold to operate, and then that is completely covered by the shelf rental fee. So then the margins that come from the consignment sales are the net profit, whereas the operation of having the shelves, the rental fees, then pay for the cost of goods sold.
One question I have just on
on that.
Mhm.
I've been looking at this graph up here, and you're focusing on local growers, right?
Mhm.
So here in Colorado, there's parts of the year where there's not much growing outside.
Yeah.
Okay? And so, you know, that means that you have, you know, that really is going to have a problem with your year-round use of this thing.
Mhm.
That's one question I had about.
Mhm.
The other one was, do you have a prototype, and have you actually gone out and tried this and seen who the customer who comes into it? Have you done that yet?
No, so we haven't done that. That's part of our MVP, which will open in April. But we have been working closely with the farmers markets and other local food co-ops and quantifying quantifying is not quite the right word, but we've been working with them to understand their sales, and we've understood the market there, and then we believe that we have two customer segments. One is typical farmers market consumers or attendees, and then two is our portion that utilizes benefits like SNAP that are frequently excluded, but there's a lot of cultural benefits with accessing those more locally grown foods.
Well, one of the, you know, I noticed when you put your thing up here where you were working in Colorado, you know, most of those, particularly in the metro area around Denver and so on and so forth, places like Boulder have numerous stores where people can go in there, even though they have farmers markets, but there's farm stands and so on and so forth. So even though that's a market where I think demographically you would do very well, I think that's a market where there's a tremendous amount of people already in the market selling the products that you would be selling. So I would, you know, so you should look at where you actually do your prototype, where there actually is a need, so you see how that works.
Totally. Yeah, perfect. Thank you. And then with the seasonality, absolutely. So that's part of the benefit of launching our MVP is we're going to track what it looks like once it turns into those colder months. We have basically one of two things will happen. One, we have enough supply because we do have ranches, you know, microgreens. We have already farmers that have signed on that have greenhouses that grow year round and do winter CSAs, dairy, that type of thing. So we may have enough to get through, or we may realize that there are empty shelves, which then we would move into opening to makers. And Fort Collins has a really successful winter farmers market that's open to makers, you know, soaps or natural deodorants or things like that. And they, on average, every week have 70 vendors there. So there's huge demand on that maker side. So that's an up to if necessary.
So, you know, the retail world is crowded with lots of sorts of choices, both pickup and delivery, and more every day. So you come up with this new, unique, sort of interesting idea, but it is another stop for the customer, and they can't get everything with you. So I think the way in which you communicate the difference, if I had to distill down what I've heard you say, which is essentially you're giving the customer a choice to support a direct-to-farmer model sort of thing. And one thing you might consider in that is the bundle. I mean, a lot of farmers sell a weekly basket or a weekly box. You could do that for them so that you get your ring up higher, and you know, that might be some way. And the other thing is, you know, when you sign up farmers, you know, you've got, you know, if Bill's trying to stock a store, he's got to have enough stuff 7 days a week. Is that farmer going to commit? How are you going to make sure that you actually have enough stuff on the shelf so it doesn't look like Siberia when you walk in there, right? So it's not just number of farmers, it's like you've got to have so I assume you've got tech and a tech stack behind you that's going to help you optimize all that and keep track of it and notify, but you didn't reference that. I assume you do have that, or that's one of your value add, not just your idea, but you've got the tools to be able to do that efficiently, but it's not spoken to in your presentation. So in fact, using AI or ML or any of those things to kind of empower how you're doing this with the farmers, or, you know, farmers don't typically have heavy tech savvy. You've got to have to figure out how you're going to do that and explain how that's all going to get covered. I think the big thing is just really going to be the consignment model does solve the inventory problem, so you're not taking all the risk on the inventory and then you're hung with it at the end of the day, or you're still going to have food waste, which it sounds like you've got to hook up with the food bank, and so that's a good, you've got that base covered. So really it's just around, why does the customer stop and make another stop? Well, everything we see in retail now is they're making less trips and they're using the other options available to them. So you're going to convince them to make an extra stop to pick up something that they could get online or just have delivered. So why do they make that stop? And then how do you enable this experience in a cost efficient, using technology in a way that allows you to keep your labor costs down, so that you can fulfill your mission of really serving the farmers and serving the customers.
Yeah, definitely. Thank you. Yeah, we initially were using a consignment tech which notifies the farmers and keeps them completely up to date with what's left on the shelves, and a small amount of storage which will expand after our MVP when MVP budgets aren't so tight. But they have expressed, we've worked with them in quite a few meetings, and they've expressed that they're so excited for that portion, because in so many of the small retails that they sell to, they blindly have to assume what has been sold and what hasn't, and our farmers will have a choice, will be able to see that, which we're excited about.
So that's a clear differentiation on the farmer side, but what's the clear differentiation on the customer side?
Yep.
I'd highly suggest that as you think about your placement, right? I mean, you know, downtown Fort Collins is a cool area. It's hip. It's, you know, you got a lot of people there. But I also think about this as you're going to compete with Whole Foods, Kings, you know, other independents. To Walter's point, there's a lot of stopping points there. But there are a lot of food deserts that are still out there, even in cities like Denver, right? And that ability for you to get access to food to the people who really need it might actually be the home run, instead of trying to take on you know, 5, 6, 7 different competitors with the concept. You might actually find those areas that you get a bigger bang for your sales with the farmers than necessarily going into some, you know, overly competitive, overly indexed.
Yeah, absolutely. And our models beyond the MVP are self-sufficient, so they're solar powered. So that is a benefit, that we can operate out of parking lots, and that was part of the desert challenge, where, you know, larger retailers refuse to move into. We can be plopped on a parking lot, which is exciting.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I think you'll see better sales out of those areas actually than some of the others. I think you'd be surprised.
Okay, thank you.
Are you Kiwi, by the way?
Yes.
Well, I think we're out of time, but I just will say this makes me think about the produce prescription models that are becoming so popular, and by moving into different areas where access is hard, like if you could partner with some of those produce prescription programs and the community health workers that are bringing those to people, this could really help with the access problem.
Yeah.
So I love it.
Thank you.
Just going to add also, there are now companies that are setting up that are actually servicing Medicare and Medicaid, that are actually, the government's now, insurance plans are now paying for produce as a prescription. And so if you could tap into that revenue stream at an affordable level, that would really be another revenue stream. With your sophistication, you could probably figure out how to tap into some of that.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, it's exciting. Yeah.
I think you're going to be working in a lot of areas that you personally wouldn't spend a lot of time in. So.
Awesome. Thank you so much. Up next, we have Food for Good.
Just so that they can get through this morning.
New to this team. I'll just put it out there while we got time. I actually run a produce prescription program in a rural, underserved food desert, so I would like to chat with you.
No, my family is up in Christchurch.
Business stuff.
So Jim Brown,
oh, yes. Yeah, very cool. That's awesome that you know him. Oh, wow, that's so cool. I'm sure. Thank you. I'm sure not in the last 2 years because of
Okay.
New offers right here.
Oh, sorry. They come really far.
Yeah, I saw it. Awesome coming in.
Yeah. Yeah, why would you get another one?
Yeah.
You're constantly getting food in You can ask them for the thumbs up if they're ready.
you're ready, give me a Vito, thumbs up.
We're good.
All right, cool. Great, hi. Hello?
Yeah.
It's working?
Talking to it.
Okay. Oh, there we go. Okay, thank you. Hi, good afternoon. My name is Rachel Landis. I am the director and founder of the Good Food Collective. And yeah, I just want to thank you all for the opportunity to come share a bit about our intended, perhaps, social enterprise down in Southwest Colorado that's looking to bring locally sourced, healthy consumer packaged goods to our community down there, particularly with an emphasis on food insecure folk. The Good Food Collective, we are actually kind of a sister to the Pueblo Food Project. I work all the time with Monique. So we are working in Southwest Colorado to rebuild an intact, resilient, and just food system. And everything we do is driven by place and people. And so one of the things, how many of you have been to Southwest Colorado? It's beautiful, yeah? It's a place where desert and mountains meet. And one of the things that comes from that is it is an incredible place to grow apples. Actually, since the 1930s, we've been producing apples commercially and won the 1928 World's Fair for Best Apple. And that has continued in today's recent emergence of our hard cider industry, really based on the terroir. One of the other things that's amazing about this place is the beauty leads to great desirability to visit. We have so many tourists, and we also have so many people that want to live there, which has caused the issue that many places across the Mountain West are experiencing. It's no longer affordable to live. And so one of the issues we're experiencing is that local folks like myself can no longer pay rent or afford to live. So we're choosing between eating good food or paying our rent. And the choice folks are making is rent. And what we've seen is a tenfold increase in the number of folks visiting food assistance providers just even in the last year. And one of the things that our food pantries will be the first to tell you is they can't provide the healthy food to support the well-being of our residents. And that's not what they want, and it's not what our residents want. Same goes for our farmers. We are 6.5 hours from here, 7 hours from Denver. We are far away, and so the cost of producing fruit and selling it to market is no longer profitable. So in the 1990s, our last big producer and processor of fruit closed down. And so ever since, we've had an average of 23 million pounds of apples that drop to the ground unused every year. And that's revenue lost to our growers, all of whom live at around $30,000 a year. That costs like a livable wage in our area is $77,000. So they're in poverty. So for Good Food Collective, we are here trying to make a difference in our food system and creating a community-based values chain, one part of which is this new idea of the Fruit for Good enterprise. And so our goal here is to kind of leverage all of our oomph as a nonprofit and community partner to create a viable seconds market for our fruit producers and growers, to create a shelf-stable, reliable, healthy product that is enjoyed by all, but also really serves the needs of our food insecure community. We're looking to reduce waste and ideally generate enough revenue to support the enterprise, but in some small way help fund the nonprofit's food security efforts. We started this work back in fall 2020 by doing some, I'm not a business person, processing, production, and fruit sales. And so we actually ran a whole line of these apple chips, and basically manufactured 2.5-pound bags of wholesale product that we sold wholesale to food assistance providers, and then 2.3-ounce bags that we sold direct to consumer at a regional farmers market and via direct online sales. The response was amazing. We sold out all of our wholesale fruit to the food assistance providers within a week. We thought we had a year's supply. And we sold out all of our apple chips at the farmers market within half the season. We think that we've got something going here because it's a values-based product. Everything you're eating is supporting our regional food system and the residents of our region. And whether you're a tourist or someone that lives there, people buy into that. We have a really strongly developed local board market down there, thanks to work not my own. Also, tourists will buy anything that says Southwest Colorado or Durango. And as I think someone was just mentioning, healthcare institutions, schools, food pantries are all recognizing how essential it is to provide food that's healthy and supporting people's well-being. And Monique will be the first to share with you, you can't get it, especially if you're an institution. There are no shelf-stable consumer packaged goods available that are locally sourced in our region. She told me. You guys will tell me different, I'm sure. But our business model is really, we're looking to create and grow our wholesale and retail product channels, focusing in the Four Corners first and foremost. We want to do this in a way where we own and operate our equipment and leverage it not only for our product, but to support other food enterprises in the area, that food systems model. We're looking to identify a pricing and donation strategy that helps us support food security. And ultimately, if we go to scale, we'll work with our regional partners in such a way that supports what they're doing as well as what we're hoping to do. Things we're looking to do, apple chips are awesome. They're not that profitable and not that great, especially year round. So for one, we're looking to kind of rebrand some things around a tourist-focused line. Second, we want to develop wholesale accounts at our regional local food-focused retail outlets. We have a lot of local independent grocers because big groceries don't want to come, we're not profitable. We want to expand our wholesale market to include other just accounts, so really looking at the healthcare and the school systems. And then also want to diversify our consumer packaged goods because apple chips, again, are not the jam, but man, fruit leathers, I think they got potential. Our team, we are tiny. It's a part of rural America. We do everything. So it's myself, and fortunately we just hired on Robert. I'm handing off all things to him. Robert's got a long-standing career in startups, especially around health and wellness with some food background. And even in the last 3 weeks, I can't tell you, he's coached me on so many words to use in this. And we have a great advisory team. They're locally based. They all run food businesses. They've been on since the beginning. I think they're watching on YouTube. Hello. And then I have no idea how to do an ask for this. It's not a grant, but I'll say we would love to be in an incubator program. Any mentorship, like I'm so excited for the feedback that I know is coming, it's gonna hurt. And then any support to really help us keep Robert on while we build out kind of those growth strategies would be amazing. Yeah, so that's all I've got, and thanks so much.
Those chips are delicious.
Oh, yes.
First of all, I live in Durango, so let's spend some time together down there. And
Okay.
happy to help on business plan, finance, fundraising, strategy. Let's Twistscape's arm, get you in there. So yeah, start there. I think one thing I wanted to throw out is, unfortunately, this is going to be a little bit of a teaching moment, but
that's why I'm here.
on slides, I always like to tell folks, and this goes for everybody, show don't tell, right? Because
Yeah.
like a really good presentation is like watching television, where you have audio that's capturing one sense, and then you have visual that's capturing another. And if I'm trying to read and listen, they're competing. So the less words, the better on slides in general. So that was just one piece of feedback I want to share. And then the one thing that I felt was really missing was kind of just getting into the business side of the business, right?
Yep.
What are distribution channels? What are metric, margins on it? You know, how do you source some of that stuff? But
Thank you.
we can spend more time on that.
Heck yeah.
Down during
Look
it.
forward to it.
So, I'm excited to hear what you're doing, and you inspire me, you know, in
Aw.
terms of what you're trying to do with your community. In Boulder, we have a product like this, and it's rescued apples from, you know, backyards, but it's not tied to this kind of vision for addressing healthy food access and really revitalizing and supporting a regional food system. So I'm not going to have any painful feedback. I just want to say bravo and keep going. And you know, I think it's smart to figure out how can you target those tourists who are coming to the area. I'm often one coming down here, and so I just wanted to encourage you to keep going, and I'm sure you'll get lots of great feedback to help you do that.
So thank you, and I will say again, the premise, the whole idea for the Pueblo Food Project was a sort of thought that if you invest in your local food system, you lift up your community.
Yep.
And I think that your enterprise essentially encapsulates that perfectly, this idea that food really touches everything we are and that we do. And so if you invest in that, you're going to lift up all the stakeholders in the community and the community itself. So That being said, the questions are, you talk about this being 23 million pounds to fall. Is this number one fruit or number two fruit? Is this fruit that just is not harvested at all, or is it ugly fruit, or so that's the first question.
Previously unharvested in between with efforts like this, and then the cideries, both two locally based, and then some that are actually coming down from Denver.
Okay, again, you have a whole new category called upcycled foods, which is coming to market, which takes the number two, and it's not processed as number one, but it's usable and it certainly tastes perfectly good.
Yeah.
So you're not speaking to that, or you may want to consider that what you're doing there. Number two is the brand itself. You have the good food, or what's it? The fruit for good, which is good, but it's really very specific to that part of Colorado. So if your market is just you're gonna kind of market to that part of the region, and that's it. If you're gonna move beyond that, I'm not sure. There's got to be more thought put into the brand and how that. Because every area's got this sort of situation going on and trying to solve for that, Pueblo included. So how does that brand move beyond that particular set of circumstances, and why is that of interest? Well, because more broadly, if you define your mission as being successful, being able to lift up X number of farmers, you can get there, but you could get at least more to Colorado, but you've got to give some thought to that. And also the gross margin, where more gross margin is, the further up the value stream you go, whether it's applesauce or it's whatever you're going to make, you have more profit to work with in terms of supporting your endeavor. And then finally, I think you have these partnerships with the food assistance providers. Make them visible, make them partners, make them part of the brand, make that part of the story, so that you seem like a generous sort. So share the stage with them, because they're enabling this, and that pitch paints a much more unique picture of what you're trying to accomplish in terms of how you're actually going right at not only supporting the farmers, but also the folks who don't have access to fresh, healthy food, which you have a twin mission. So how can you identify that? Maybe you rotate 3 months on the package, or I don't know what the package run is, or maybe you find some way to put a scannable label, or maybe you just put it on there. But I think letting that part of it, the whole thing, be more visible would be part of what makes your product unique.
One follow-up on labeling. One of the key things that you have asked us is financial. And so one of the things you can use your label, particularly where you're kind of a company for good, is you can ask the people who buy on the back of your label. You can make that ask. If you like what we're doing and you believe in this, please contact, we could use your help. Whatever whatever makes sense, but use the package with that to tell that story. It could be something on the back that way, but use it to tell that story. That can be very important for you. I liked the whole concept behind this. I've spent a lot of time down there when Mountain Sun had their orchards down there. Bill and Denise Russell were dear friends of mine, and I was sad to see that whole operation leave, but I think that you're doing something that they would be supportive of as well, and kind of gleaning what's happening from those apples and those orchards and putting them to good use down there. So kudos to you and your whole team for doing that kind of work. It's really invaluable. And I'm here in Colorado. If you need any help or mentoring, you can always get a hold of me.
Thank you.
Yeah, no, I love the story. I mean, it's really why we do what we do. It's you work in Whole Foods Market for 37 years, which will be this weekend for me. It's really trying to take care of the people, who are associated with the food and the communities that we get food from. It's not just the communities that we sell food in, and I think that's one of the big misses that a lot of people get around when they buy food. It's like it's the community you're in. Well, really, you're affecting the communities that you buy stuff from. And what I would suggest or offer really is the fact that we have a field associate. Her name is Darcy Landis. And
that's my last name.
She's not here today. She wasn't feeling well, so she didn't come down. But I could absolutely get you in contact with her, and she could really help you, as Walter said, those products down the line of just giving you guidance for items that we see that would work well. I mean, obviously right now I think your focus is kind of the Four Corners. But obviously if that expanded, you know, really our only outside the store is over at Basalt on more on the western side of the state. But she could at least just partner with you, and you could plan, and as things grow or evolve, it's a resource for you. And then eventually if it got to the point where, you know, the apples grew into other items and we're supporting other farmers, then there's ways that we could bring those items in seasonally.
Cool.
And stuff.
Thank you.
Huh?
Yeah.
I want to share one more thing, which is remember Wendell Berry's famous quote that eating is an agricultural act. Right? So with every choice that a customer makes, they're making a statement about the agriculture they support. So let that work in your favor.
Awesome. Great job.
We're gonna take a very fast 5-minute break for everyone.
Very fast or fast?
Very fast. It'll be 5 minutes exactly.
You know, when they say 5-minute break, and it's like 15.
How's it going, man?
Good.
That sounds good. I'm gonna grab a sip of water. preferential because of the live stream.
Okay, yeah, I can do it.
Check, check, check.
Okay, so Darcy, I can get you in contact with Darcy, which is super simple. They said she's supposed to be here today. She's not feeling well. And nowadays we don't want to do something that's feel well.
Before we start, if anybody wants to grab one of these delicious Walters beers over here.
This isn't on.
Oh, I was like, maybe I'm looking at it.
Yeah.
Okay, gotcha.
Take this off.
Alrighty. Everybody. If everybody could find a seat or a spot to stand at, we are going to pick up the second half of this. We are actually very behind on time right now. This was supposed to end at 5, which was completely unrealistic. I don't know how we could have done that, and Walter's already giving me the side eye every time I try and step in with time. But we are probably going to finish about 5:40 or 5:45, if that's still okay for everybody in here right now. I'm going to turn it over to Joseph with Homestead Hut, and just double check real quick, judges, are you guys all ready for the second part? So this is the market validation category, and all of the scoring sheets are the same. The only difference is we will tally them for the category by itself and then award that tonight. So here you go.
But he'll know by the company name.
Yeah, we got it organized.
Or are you tabulating?
Yeah. I can't do that quick.
Alrighty. Good afternoon, panel, hosts, and guests. Thank you for taking the time to contribute to this fun and meaningful event. My name is Joseph Keene. I am the founder and CEO of Homestead Hut, and I'm excited to introduce you to our company today. Throughout conversations with farmers, hunters, ranchers, and various food organizations, we have heard the common complaint about not having access to kitchen space and quality appliances. As a result, we have witnessed pounds of produce go to waste simply due to lack of equipment. We feel in many ways there's less of a food shortage problem and more of a food shelf life problem. Homestead Hut is here to fill a void in the mobile market, offering a fully functional space, not only for farmers and foragers, but for any chef instructor that needs a kitchen temporary space. We provide this multi-use functional space stocked with the equipment specific to your particular project. Here are a few photos of the unit. We designed this trailer to be as versatile as possible, and it meets the strictest food codes in the country. With 2 100-pound propane tanks and an eco-throttle generator, it is built for a variety of purposes, including off-grid applications, like farm-to-table events and gleaning. Homestead Hut offers a blank slate to anybody interested in pursuing culinary projects or home crafts. We see this diverse market categorized into 3 groups. That's what you see here, and that's what we see as the pillars of our company. We're excited to have done business with each one of these customer sectors just recently. Our competition comes in a few forms. That's what you see here. We feel, and as we've noticed during our market research, most other mobile kitchen companies are not designed or available for our audience. There is a clear need for our versatile product and our unique rental model. For our pricing structure, we combine concepts of companies like Rent-A-Center and U-Haul and apply them to kitchen space and equipment. Here are some of our initial goals that we identified early on when we started our business. We're pumped that we have finished most of these goals and achieved most of these milestones within the first few months of operation. With careful savings and planning, we plan to pay off the equipment soon, and we will pursue investing in multiple units in fall of 22 based on need, demand, and available funds. Here are a couple examples of our traction. The weekly rental project that we did was a lot of fun. That was with a startup in Gunnison hosting a new Belgian brewery event, and along with a couple of outdoor gear businesses and some food companies. The nighttime rental was for a local church. They wanted to hand out freshly baked cookies and ice cold milk on campus. They needed a kitchen space. The on-call rental was a project we did with a private restaurant and a local campground. Here's some of our customer feedback.
We're really excited about the responses that we've received so far. Homestead Hut has proven to be adaptable and dependable. Our team currently consists of me and my wife. Our daughter Clementine acts as the in-house taste tester. She has an incredibly advanced palate for being nearly 3. And she's a great gardener. As we develop and refine our business strategy, we recognize there are areas where we require support. We are currently seeking help with general business management, marketing, and web development. We are thrilled to be here. We are eager to engage with advisors, mentors, and we kindly ask for your consideration with this support, as well as key industry connections and financial backing if appropriate. Here's some of the reasons that we stand out. We have an unmatched rental model and equipment selection. Our goal is to minimize inadequacies in food systems through education and accessibility. The urgency and need to pursue these ambitions is evident now more than ever. We look forward to developing mutually beneficial partnerships. You will see a map of Colorado before you. With your help, we can cover this map with Homestead Hut hubs to serve multiple areas and address regional food challenges. Thank you all for your time. I'm excited to answer some questions. You're pointing me this way. There you go.
A hot seat. I love the branding. Just excuse me. I think
Thank
it's
you.
really well done. What are your goals now for 2022? Now that you have one up and running,
What we'd like to do is we'd like to come up with a couple different areas. We're looking at places, we feel like there's an urban application for this unit next to community gardens. We feel there's a lot of people that know how to grow, but they don't necessarily have the sterile kitchen space or the setting at home to actually cook their produce. And so we see if we had the resources, we would look at 3 different locations, one of them being Pueblo, Denver, and then potentially Steamboat. Those are based on kind of some market research as well as different targets that we have as far as our audiences.
This isn't an area I know a lot about, but as you were presenting, I kept thinking about food safety and what kinds of regulations are required and what, how do you meet those and how do you ensure that sterile kitchen environment, especially with a mobile unit that's going to all of these different places?
Yeah, so we went through the health department, and so we obtained our retail food license. And so the way that we've done that is we've used our own retail food license, as well as if a restaurant uses our unit, they can use their own retail license once our space has been approved for their menu. So an example right now is in Crested Butte, the cafeteria just shut down at the high school. And they are trying to find out ways to serve the kids. There's about 100 kids that need food that don't have food from their homes. And so they reached out to us yesterday, and they want us to take the trailer up there and partner with a local restaurant in Crested Butte and just have a sterile setting where we can heat stuff up to temperature and hand it out to the students. They can't fire up their cafeteria without having 6 employees, and so they're kind of down for basically the rest of the year.
I think that would be good to build into your presentation.
Okay. Yeah, I just had a meeting with them yesterday morning. I'm sorry, I wasn't able to squeeze it in there.
Yeah, get busy, would you?
I know, sorry.
No, for a moment there, I don't know if anybody else up here felt that, but I felt like I was on Shark Tank when you were wrapping it up there. You got this all.
So that was all right.
I want to say one thing at the outset, just a couple of us were talking at the break, is we've been doing this for a long time, but there's kind of a theme amongst all of these, which is really around this embracing of both accessibility and mobility, which is just wonderful to hear that, the first generation of workers really just get the stuff out there, figure out where it is, and make the case that the quality food actually matters. But now, these bigger challenges around accessibility and the way that you're all thinking about this is really wonderfully inspiring. So
Thank you.
Appreciate your contributions in that respect. And remember, keep the mission first. The money follows mission, not the other way around. You do the work, you do the good work, you do the work that needs to be done, and the money will follow, as opposed to saying, I'm going out there to make a bunch of money. If that's what you want to do, that's fine, but that's not what's being talked about in the room today. Here is really around meeting these great needs that exist out there in the community. And so I would say, again, one thing, again, for all of you guys, Mark, we just got to work on unit economics. So how much does it cost you to put this thing together, and how much do you make in each of your 3 channels that you identified: community, commercial, and whatever the third one was, personal.
Personal.
So we don't have any idea how much it costs you to build one of these units.
Okay.
How would that scale as you get your 5th unit or your 10th, and you get the blenders for less?
Gotcha.
There's no indication there of the gap between the cost and then what the rental fees are.
Okay.
We don't, again, so you just, the heart of any business model is the unit economics, and
Yep.
you've got to be able to explain that. On the other hand, I think you did an excellent job saying exactly, you covered the competition thing, which is, you acknowledge there is competition out there, and how you're going to have to present yourself as a different sort of choice. You just gave us an example, which is excellent. You also gave us some actual case studies from customers who have been using the product and what they said and how they used it. So that helps any person understand exactly how this thing would happen. So that was very well done.
Thank you.
And again, I think the U-Haul of anytime also that you can present your model in terms of business models that people already know, like U-Haul. So you say it will be the U-Haul for kitchen rental or something like that. That really quickly takes the person to kind of visually what's possible, what it means. So that was also well done. So
great.
Again, intriguing idea.
Thank you.
Work to be done, but a very intriguing idea. It looks like you got promising traction in the market already. So
Yeah, so right now one of the things that we've done, and we're trying to figure out that pricing for sure, we've kind of been doing kind of a pro bono thing. We rented our equipment or loaned our equipment to Colorado Parks and Wildlife for a meat processing demonstration a couple weeks ago. And we also used the trailer at a fermentation fest that was put on by local producers where they could do the water bath in our kitchen.
I really like this idea, though I think you need to test it out a little. Okay. I would, a couple comments for me is, I think you need to look at where you put these things geographically.
Yep.
And, if I was giving you advice, I would say,
Which you are, by the way.
I am.
Yeah.
So I'm giving it to you. But the.
Much appreciated.
I would first look at areas where you think that these could be, there's a lot of utility for this. I would put one in Denver, I'd put one in Boulder, I'd put one up in Fort Collins, in communities where there's a lot of activity going on with food, and something like this could be used by a restaurant that wants to do something, and so on and so forth. So find out where those key areas or key customers are, and because every time you move it, you're putting carbon into the atmosphere.
Yep.
So if you have it, if you can locate them at some place in those areas where it's just moved from here to here, okay, then you're beginning to cut down on your costs on that thing. That's one of the things that you have to, because you're actually renting these things out to people a lot of times.
Correct. Yep.
Okay, so the movement is a cost to you per mile.
The mobilization cost certainly
Right.
is. Yep.
So put them someplace where all you're doing is just you're going up there yourself and moving it, and setting it up.
Yep.
Okay, but you're not putting the gas behind pulling this thing all over the place. Secondly, I think you need to do some promotions on this stuff.
Okay.
How you promote it is going to be very important. I like like Walter said, I like the name you have, so you can play off that a little bit in different areas. But I love the fact that you're making this kind of food more accessible to, particularly in areas where, in communities where they're not, this kind of accessibility is not there today. So kudos on that.
Thank you. That's our goal. Appreciate it.
Yeah, there's a couple things and again, this is not my world of expertise. So, one is I'd almost offer a menu of things, like you could just rent it and people could use it, right?
Yep.
Maybe you partner with some chefs who you had different levels, kind of like what we saw earlier with a presentation on the greenhouse, where maybe you have different levels of what that looks like within the rental, the usage of it, right? Okay. And then I would say that as we talked about some of the access, I also think you could have some fun with this. I mean, if you stop and think of summer and community going on, where if you market that to the fact that you could have this in a community and people could go in and have entertaining and they're cooking outside, they're enjoying their friends. I love the concept of like at certain events where actually you see so much more nowadays where people actually want to do the cooking. It's that community of getting together and making a meal together. I think you could play off of that and have some fun, you know, fun in marketing.
Totally. We look forward to doing demonstrations at farmers markets. So at the end of the farmers market, people can demonstrate with the farmer how to actually cook the kale. So then everybody buys more kale because they know how it can taste good.
Yeah.
No, I love the idea, and I don't want to echo, but you know, definitely also my expertise. But what I was interesting when a couple ideas, and I know you're still working on your pricing model. I think your presentation you indicated daily or weekly and monthly, but then there's a pricing for weekly, I think, but not necessarily monthly. But it looked like at least the initial pricing, it looked like it was considerably less than a square footage of a traditional type facility.
They are, yep.
And so in my world in economic development, we've looked at a number of projects and companies that are kind of a startup incubator type model, and the economics just hadn't worked just because the price per traditional square footage is just so darn expensive.
That's
and so I can see an incredible use for that. And then while it's also my expertise to some degree, my wife works for a food bank, and I know they do cooking classes per se. So talking about the insecurity in those food deserts too, I could see a model setting this up. Them renting it for a week or a month or whatever it would be, and to demonstrate the cooking. I think they call it Cooking Matters. I think what the program is to do those type of classes to not only help with insecurity but teach into it. So I think it's a really interesting model. It's going to be interesting to see how this plays out.
Great, thank you. Really appreciate all the insights.
So up next, we'll have Vito Bella Pasta Company, and we'll give the judges a few more moments here to get their scoring ready as they pass out some samples. So.
You guys can give her the thumbs up.
Do you have the recipe book?
I sell groceries, I don't get speeches either.
Go ahead, see your name. Okay.
Maybe I did it twice.
You did twice?
I'm trying to sway the back.
Is that all?
Go. Good.
Ready?
Yeah.
I am Lisa Musso Marino.
Go use the mic.
Use the mic, put it up to your face.
I am Lisa Musso Marino. I am the owner of Vito Bella Pasta Company. I met a lady at a farmer's market selling homemade pasta. I asked her if she would be interested in trying a couple new flavors for her pasta. One of the flavors was Pueblo green chili. It became such a high demand, she asked me to take over the business. I took over the business in 2009. I took over the business in 2009. I renamed the business, and I named the business Vito Bella after my two boys. My husband and I, we make it, we bag it, and we ship it all year round. In 2017, we won the Flavor of Pueblo, the People's Choice Award. Vito Bella Pasta is a locally owned and operated business. In fettuccine, we have 14 flavors. In angel linguine, we have 7. In rotini, we have 6. And in mousse soup, which is a vermicelli noodle, we have 3. Vito Bella Pasta is made out of semolina flour. I am an owner and operator of Musso's Restaurant. We have been in business for 30 years. Vito Bella Pasta is sold on the shelves at Musso's Restaurant farmers markets, and locally owned businesses. I am proud to say that we have provided to the, excuse me, to the Pueblo Food Project 6,000 pounds of pasta. Jovito Bella Pasta, we provide 2,000 to 3,000 pounds a month. Each bag weighs 12 ounces a bag and sells $8 retail. Where I'd like to go with my business, I am looking forward to hiring more employees, looking forward to moving to the next level, and looking forward to moving to a bigger facility and getting into grocery stores with my product. I fell in love with Jovito Bella Pasta, and I know you will fall in love with it too. Also, I do have to say that I do have other products, such as our homemade Sicilian sausage and Pueblo chili sausage that is a 5th-generation sausage that also won the Flavor of Pueblo in 2017, that I did not say with my product. We do have other spices and seasonings that go with Jovito Bella Pasta. And our Sicilian sausage, like I said, did win the Flavor of Pueblo in 2017. You would fall in love with that. Thank you, and thank you for having me here. Yes.
This one I'm more familiar with just from a consumption standpoint, because I've eaten the restaurant numerous times, and I appreciate the recipe book.
Oh, that's just a little recipe book
Yeah,
that
that's
has
great.
a lot of little recipes.
Yeah, I mean, your
wrote in.
product, I'm familiar with the product, I've eaten this before, you know, all the product from Moose's has always been great. Of course, I'm a 4th-generation Puebloan, so you gotta love it. But, so my question specifically is, you're manufacturing, you're doing this out of the restaurant, or you're
Out of my home.
out of your home? So how much square footage are you looking for? You indicated you're looking to expand. How
I'm
much square
looking
foot-
forward to expand into a bigger facility.
How big are you looking for? It's
I-
okay.
Somewhere bigger than where I'm at.
Okay.
So maybe 3,000 square feet, maybe?
So let me give you my card before we leave, so then we
Okay,
can talk
that
about
would be
facilities.
great. I love that.
It's very exciting. It's great packaging. Looks really attractive. I mean, it's, you know, I definitely want to have my forager reach out to you and talk to you about the different items. And you're okay. So once you go retail, you'll be able to do. It looks like all the packaging is fine. So I just want to make sure that you know, because once you go to grocery stores, there's different health department requirements and stuff, and you've got all those already.
In other words,
Yes,
has
sir.
your kitchen been inspected as a commercial
Yes,
kitchen?
Yeah,
yes,
commercial
yes, it is.
kitchen. Okay.
And I do have something to say. I'm sorry to interrupt. I do have a UPC code. I do have.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's all. That's why I said it all looks like
It
ready
is
to go.
trademark and registered.
Okay. All right. Well, I'll definitely have my local forager, Darcy Landis, reach out.
Yes,
and
all my
check out the
pasta
list.
is trademarked and registered. All 14 varieties, 6, 7 rotini.
How much can you do in production right now on the pasta side and on the sauce side?
And the spaghetti sauce?
Yeah.
It depends on who can do. I have somebody doing it, but they're not very. I need somebody, like I'm looking for guidance.
Right.
Like I'm looking for somebody that would. I'm looking for guidance.
So you're looking
And
for
I could-
you're looking for.
I
some,
got a great recipe.
Well, you have a
I just-
great package, and it looks like you have a great product. So you're
I do
looking for
have a
some
great product.
guidance on
Yes.
like the manufacturing side of the business.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, I am.
So I mean, what I can obviously help is I can help with obviously as being a retailer and looking to sell the product, but the forager, yeah, we're not. That's not going to be our expertise. It sounds like you might have some better focal
I have a
points for
great
that.
product. I'm just looking for some guidance and a bigger.
I think it's going to be this gentleman here too as well. So.
Yes, and I'm just moving on. I just want to move on to the next level. I've
Yeah.
been looking for this, and just yes.
Hey, I like the product a lot, and I like the fact that, you know, you're getting the Pueblo green chilies into here in a product that, you know, is accessible to people. So because they only can get the fresh ones during certain times of the year. So I like that a lot. I think it's something that's very important for Pueblo, you know, to have that identity. You know, and you have these sauces which you're not trying to sell right now outside of your stores, right? I mean, this is the only thing that you sell as a product.
I do have other product. Yes.
Oh, you do?
Oh, yes.
Okay, and they're already ready to go?
I have a little corner in my restaurant that I'd be more than happy to share some other products that I do have right now.
Okay. And so actually, I don't really have much to say. I think this is a very interesting product. I'd love to see.
I've got spices.
You guys have it in your
I did
store,
leave some
so-
stuff out. I've got spices and seasonings and soup, spaghetti sauce. I just need some guidance. I need people to keep up with me.
Well, I think one thing I can tell you know, stay simple at the start.
Yes, small. Yes,
Figure
I
out
got
how
you.
to do this. When you have
Yes.
somebody like Bill who's interested in it, do this well, and those other products will.
I think so.
You'll be asked for.
I'd like to focus on my Sicilian sausage and my pasta, because that's a good product.
Well, let's try some.
I got some. I brought some, hun. I will fill you up. I got some manja, baby. Yes.
Yeah, that's my opening comment is that, you know, we've been talking about all these different companies today, but you're emphasizing that other part of food, which is that it tastes good.
It does.
You like to eat it. We sit down at the table and we share it, and that's really coming through in your presentation. That's who you are. That's your heritage, and
It
that's
is.
kind of the soul of your company. So
You don't
at
leave
the end of the day, when you survey customers about, you know, what's important to them, taste is right up there. You know, the thing has to taste good, and so you've obviously got that going. You know, on the other hand, I'm going to pound this in unit economics. You've told us that the bag sells for $8, 12 ounces, but we don't know the cost to make it. We don't know what the competition is selling bags of pasta for. All that stuff has to be filled in terms of a larger picture if you want to sell at retail.
Yes.
Who are you competing with? Are you a high quality, medium quality? You know, what's the price point? What's the gross margin? Unit economics. So again, Mark, others can help you with that to put that in your presentation. And I think also, again, for Pueblo companies, again, I'd love to see Pueblo start, the chili peppers obviously, developing some sort of a brand mark or something that's associated with products from this part of Colorado, so that you get the amplification of not just your company, but the others that are participating in this effort to kind of revitalize agriculture and food as part of the Pueblo economy. So, but I'm looking forward to trying it. Looks intriguing.
Yeah.
Do you have where's the sauce? Does Mr.
I read it in the thing.
There's none in the room.
It's in my.
There's none in the room here. Though.
Yeah, that's a little tiny one.
We can't hold it
but
in
if-
our hands right now, though.
With what? Yeah.
What?
You can't
You have to
hold
go by
one.
the restaurant. We have to go by the restaurant.
Yes. Yes.
No sausage. No free sausage.
I got some sausage for you. I did bring it. I did.
Well, go get it. Let's see what it looks
Bring
like.
it in, Rock.
So you have all these other things too? I mean, all these. you have
Everything
available
in there is what,
at
yeah,
your store.
that's just little. I just made that little thing. I thought maybe you guys could help me with that too. I need some advice.
Are you making money in your restaurant? Are you doing well?
I'm doing well.
Because to do this kind of stuff, you're gonna need money to do it, okay? That's why I'm asking.
Yeah, like I
Okay.
said, I do good, I need guidance. Yeah.
So are you, first of all, great presentation. I'm excited to try this. And are you thinking that for you personally, you'd like to focus on these products versus the restaurant, or do you want to stay focused on the restaurant? And who's the person, like who's your next partner that you really need in your business?
My husband, he's like, yeah, my husband has been such a good, he's been by my side the whole time, you know.
Good.
Yes.
Well, good luck to you.
Thank you. Gotcha. There you go.
Yeah, I don't know that I have a ton to add. Again, like, would love to dig in on the unit economics and just get a better idea of how much pasta you're selling, how much that's going to translate in the future. So in future presentations, what's often really helpful is seeing a timeline of here's where we want to go, and here's when we're going to do it, and that just helps folks like ourselves kind of conceptualize and put it within time and space, and then start figuring out how much it's going to cost to get there, right? So just something for future presentations to keep in mind.
Awesome, thank you.
Thank you.
And
Up next, we have Colorado Yardbirds.
Did I put my name on the sheet? Or can you check for that? Did I put my name? Thank you. Yep. Okay, great.
Is there a clicker?
and we're gonna. Did you guys all?
Is everybody scored?
Yep.
Is that-
We're good.
Are you guys ready?
Yep. Yep.
Cool. Might be easier to sit down and do
So this side?
Hi guys, I'm Allison. In 2020, I experienced a problem. Here living in Pueblo, Colorado, in the middle of a food desert, I could not find cured duck breast anywhere. So I decided gonna have to make my own. And so I started growing birds and fruits and vegetables. In doing so, I found that a flock of birds has a great symbiotic relationship with trees. Trees help make the birds' environment better and healthier, and so too for the trees, which are fertilized and have their pests taken care of by the birds living underneath them. In addition, I found that locally produced and pasture-raised meat that I was making was miles better than the stuff that I found at a grocery store. So I decided to scale up. In 2020, I grew about $300 worth of birds and produce for myself and my family. This year, I went to the farmer's market and sold 60 birds and about $3,500 worth of produce in total. I decided I really liked it. So next year, my plan is I've got a rental agreement on 1 acre with some people in Pueblo County who weren't using it for anything. I'm gonna go ahead and plant an orchard out there to create an even better environment for my birds. I've also been trialing recipes for charcuterie smoked duck breast, some of which you'll find on top of that cracker there. And have been expanding my local chicken production as a result of incredible response from people at the farmer's market. You go bringing local pastured chicken, you will sell out. It's true for my competition as well. I don't consider them my competition, we're just trying to meet the market need. There is a slight problem with growing chickens at small scale, and it's that you cannot access USDA processing in a cost-effective manner. This is putting an upper limit on my local bird production, which is part of why I am focusing on orchardry for the next year. My plan for the orchard is to open it up for people in the community. I'm not going to have enough capital around to plant fully mature or teenage trees over the entire land that I have access to. So I thought I'd allow people to invest and get a 50% share in the trees that I plant. That should be a good deal in about 5 years when it'll be producing enough fruit to pay for itself. And until then, I'll still get the knock-on effects of increased environment and welfare for the birds, plus helping to kickstart the ecosystem that I am creating out in Pueblo County.
I am looking for this for connections. I'd love to be able to better access land. So if you know anyone in Pueblo County who's got some land that I can grow birds or trees on, let me know about that. I'm also networking with other poultry keepers who are experiencing some of the same USDA processing problems that I am. If we get about 10 of us together, it should be able to justify the cost of a mobile poultry processing unit, which will open up a lot of markets for local Colorado fresh birds. And I'd love to reach out to more people in the produce industries who have been growing trees, especially here in Colorado, and learn from them. Thank you for listening. I'm doing this to create a better world for Colorado, for the humans, and for the birds. Do I give this to someone?
I love that you obviously have a strong passion for this and enjoy spending your time doing it. It tastes delicious as well, so thank you. I thought your fundraising strategy is really creative. I think, it's figuring out how to find money to start a small business is one of the hardest challenges you're ever going to have in your life, and I think you're going about it in a really creative way, so kudos to you for that.
Yes, I agree. There's some innovative ideas in here. When you were talking about the challenges you're facing with poultry processing, at first I was thinking, well, how is she going to address those as you're growing, as you're growing your orchard? And then when you talked about this collaborative, collective approach of partnering with other poultry producers to be able to collectively afford a mobile processing system, I thought that's really innovative. So it might even be worth really emphasizing that piece in terms of how you can really create a solution to a problem that other producers would have.
It's like Uber, but for killing chickens.
Yes. Maybe there's a more consumer-friendly way of saying that. That's exactly what it is. So best of luck.
Yeah, I'm not sure I'd lead with that, Lauren. There's a clear workaround on this, which is the mobile processing plant, which you can do in state. I don't know Colorado. If Colorado hasn't passed that law, you should get Mark to help you do that in Carlotta.
We do have an exemption.
So you have an exemption for that. So, and if you put, there's a place where in Martha's Vineyard off the coast of Massachusetts, they're doing this. They've been doing it for 5 years. So all of the poultry processors on the island, they just move the unit around and book their time. So it's totally doable, and you don't need a USDA inspector if you're just selling in state. So there's a pathway for you there. Your passion for the birds, but you didn't really talk about when you talk about duck, there's varieties, there's all sorts of varieties, and there's all sorts of flavors associated with the varieties. And so, you're saying pasture raised is enough to get it sold, but I think since you have a real passion for that, all your birds probably have names and stuff like that. But I'm thinking about where you could go with that. Produce is a lot more competitive.
What did you say is competitive?
Produce is very competitive, right? And so I didn't hear anything about how that you're growing it that's different than anybody else, but you seem to have a passion around the bird. So it would be would there be certain varieties that are suited for Colorado, and you can start calling that out and saying, this type of bird, and this bird likes trees, or whatever. I don't know what it is. I don't know about ducks, but I would encourage you to kind of develop that whole aspect of it in terms of the varieties, and maybe choose different varieties that are not being used. Like the Pekin duck is the one I think that's used mostly commercially.
Yeah,
maybe
this here is a Muscovy.
Muscovy,
the
okay,
red
great,
meat duck.
awesome. So there you go. There's a little bit of extra information that really works well in market when people hear a story. Not just your birds are in the trees, but there's the variety and the flavor and that sort of thing. But so I think just take, if you've got 10 folks that are willing to go in with you and buy the mobile processing plant for the poultry that exists, it's happening. It's been happening for years in different places. Again, I give you the contact of Martha's Vineyard to talk to the folks there that run that, so you can figure out the legal, regulatory stuff you have to do to make sure you're cool there with the health department. But you can solve that problem.
Okay.
And you don't need the USDA to do it. So, but it's amazing how you've taken this from the ground up, literally. Really, kudos.
you located any small poultry processors in Colorado yet?
There's one. There used to be more. A lot of them do not like doing poultry, and so they're getting out of it. There is one in Sima, but it would be cheaper to go across the border to Kansas, basically.
Well, you know,
That's when you get the USDA involved.
I think CSU has started a sustainable livestock collaborative, okay? And Kim Stackhouse Lawson is the person who is running that. And she would be the person that I would contact up at CSU to put you in touch with other people in the poultry industry. She used to be the head of sustainability at JBS. So she knows a ton of people that in it, but she's now getting right into regenerative and organic and all that kind of stuff and local. So I would, contact her. You could give her my name that I suggested that you contact her. She could be very helpful in finding out where you could possibly get this processed and so on and so forth.
Sweet, love to talk to her.
I like this idea. I've raised turkeys, ducks, geese, chickens, rabbits. Mostly my kids raised them, but always the problem was when it got to that time was who was going to do the slaughter work. Yeah. And so it's always been a challenge here, and we have a tremendous challenge in all of our local meat production and getting it processed here in Colorado. It's not any different than it is anywhere else in the country, to tell you the truth, but we do have a growing community that is raising these animals sustainably and so forth, but are having a difficult time in getting them processed. So I think if you contacted CSU, that would be a great way for you to look at the solutions.
Okay, super.
Yeah, I was gonna say, I think from a co-op standpoint, you wonder whether or not the group of growers that you know, that you're friends with, or like you said, you're not competitors with, whether or not you all could put together for a grant, almost for the city, and get someone in government to sponsor a mobile facility for you that would stay within it, and that might be a way to actually pay for it. Because I mean, obviously, if you're growing that many birds, it's hard to come up with the money to go out and buy a mobile facility. But if you all put together a case for food access, of local food access, and proteins, and especially in something like poultry, that really there's not much going on in Colorado any longer from a poultry standpoint, that you might have a chance to get a grant. And then have something sponsored like that, or at least maybe even to Mark's point, maybe you worked with CSU or CU or someone where they could even possibly do a grant and work with a bunch of the different growers here.
Okay, yeah, I'll do that.
I don't have anything really additional to add. I just think it's been an interesting presentation, and I admire your tenacity and your excitement about it. I think you're starting from the ground up, and your personality, I think, is going to help this move it forward. So keep moving forward.
All right, now it's time for Man-Paw Hard Seltzer.
What is that?
Man-Paw Hard Seltzer.
To dish it out. Thank you.
This is the
I just think the seltzer wants to last.
Oh, and then we finish with side pieces.
Yeah, no, I saw that. It's was actually.
These are different types?
Yeah.
We weren't supposed to open this. We weren't supposed to open this.
Walter.
Sorry.
We open, you gotta finish it.
Hey, now you have a roadie.
Let's give it a hard time.
For your long walk over to the dinner.
We're still waiting for Mark.
Thank you so much.
Do you have still scoring?
Yeah.
drive.
There's a lot of them.
Oh, thanks.
Oh, geez, yeah. This would be the end for me. Fall asleep on the drive home. Walking at me up all night last night.
Yeah.
The martini room.
Getting a martini yet? Okay. I better check out the martini room.
Yeah.
Are you guys ready?
Yes.
Yep.
Cool.
Good. All right, good evening, everyone. My name is Kurt Rode, one of the founders of Manpaw, the hardest seltzer. Let's start off by saying our main objective from this pitch competition is to make connections in this food and beverage industry. One of our biggest goals for 2022 is to get into a national retail store such as Whole Foods, and I think with the connections here, whether it's with you personally or with someone you may know, it's a step in the right direction. So, what is Manpaw? The idea of Manpaw sparked in 2019, a couple of friends drinking on a boat during the seltzer shaming era when White Claw was not acceptable for men. And we thought, you know, this is a delicious drink, why can't this be for everyone? So my partner Matt and I, we put together some ideas and we got what you have in front of you today is Manpaw. We're coming in a little stronger than the 4 to 5% seltzer that you typically see, and instead of the tall white skinny can, we have a standard 12-ounce beer can size and matte black. And of course it is for everyone, so on the can we have for man, for woman, for human. The target audience for Manpaw, the primary age of seltzer drinkers are 21 to 44. About 70% of people in that age group drink seltzers. We really want to hammer the college student market. We want to be that Barstool-esque type of drink, the fun, carefree, good vibe type of energy. The seltzer market in 2020 had a $4 billion market space with projections of 2027 to be 14.5 billion. And White Claw and Truly still share 77% of this market. So obviously there's room to get in there. Some first year milestones, we started locally at Walter's Brewery in January of 2021, and we immediately started looking for expansion. We do 250 cases a week, and we ship that out. Within 4 months, we landed a distributor, and they're rapidly expanding. We're up to 100 stores now. We signed on a managing member as part owner with Manpaw to help us expand into other states. Right now, we have a brewing agreement signed in Oregon. We are planning on opening in Minnesota in December or early January of 2022 with talks of California in early 2022 as well. We've done 150,000 in sales year to date, and the best thing I think so far is the customer feedback. Returning customers on the can, you'll see at Drink Manpaw, so people are engaging and tagging us on social media. Some goals that we have, like I said, our primary goal is to get into a national retail store such as Whole Foods. Using our business model, we want to open up in 5 new states in 2022. And then with this, we think we can have a revenue goal of $2.5 million. That'd be selling 500 cases within 3 states, and we want to go above and beyond that, obviously. And then who is behind the Manpaw team? So I myself graduated with an entrepreneurship degree. I've started 2 successful businesses since. My business partner and co-founder Matt has also started 2 businesses since graduating in 2016. And then our managing member John has a resume that's a little too long to go over, but he's been a serial entrepreneur for 25 years now, and he's helping us grow and get to the next level. Hope you guys enjoy the flavor of them. Any questions?
Actually, I'm not even certain. This tells you how long I haven't looked at products to a certain degree. I don't know if potassium sorbate is an approved ingredient at Whole Foods Market.
Okay.
Would be one question I would say. Is definitely just double check.
Okay.
Okay. I mean, I love the packaging. I think you're right. It's, you know, especially in Colorado, in the grocery store, since we've authorized beer, most of the hard seltzers tend to not be focused towards men.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it's more kind of the beer set. So having one that does, I think you're spot on. I think it's actually a great focal point. I would just check that one ingredient.
Okay.
Okay. For Whole Foods Market, and Do you have distribution set up locally already?
Yeah, so we're with Eagle Rock,
Okay.
Budweiser.
Okay.
So we started with them about 4 months in the business.
Okay, all right. Do you know if you've spoken to anyone at Whole Foods Market?
We have not.
You
no.
have not, okay.
No.
All right. I mean, you're.
We did connect to Darcy, right?
Yeah, I
You
did.
You did talk to Darcy?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, all right, so she's aware of it. Did she give you any feedback on the potassium?
She did not. I don't think I sent her directly all the ingredients.
I think she followed up with the alcohol.
Folks, yeah. It's a little different because she doesn't actually oversee, while she's the field, she doesn't actually oversee the alcohol side of it, but that's Mark, and that's, I mean, obviously with Walters, you know, we have a very good buyer in that category right now, so I will definitely get this in front of him.
Awesome.
From a business plan, you know, it sounds like you're looking at other states, and that's your next move is outside of Colorado as well?
Yeah, correct.
Okay. Remember, as you go into certain states, like Kansas still has a 5% alcohol limit. So as you think about, well, so does Utah. So as you think about next steps, if you want to keep it close, you know, maybe a state like New Mexico. And what I usually tell folks is, you know, if you want the 800-pound gorilla in alcohol sales, go to California.
Yeah.
I mean, you know, it's kind of like the wild west. They can sell everything.
It's huge there.
You know, so that's something for you to think about as a business as you think about future of Manpaw. I usually tell folks to go after California sooner rather than later.
Okay.
Okay.
Awesome.
All right.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, absolutely.
I don't really have a lot to say on this. My main concern again was the potassium sorbate.
Okay.
In there.
Yeah, we'll look into that.
Yeah, and if you have one distributor already here in Colorado, that's typically sufficient, because typically all the ones here in Colorado cover the entire state.
Yeah.
So I think it's obviously it's in a category that's growing. You know, you've got the large beer manufacturers getting into it, and so on and so forth, so that they wouldn't be doing it unless there was a market out there.
Yeah, everyone has one now.
Yeah. So, and I think you just have to find a way that you differentiate from those, whether it's the flavors or, you know, like you said, a little bit more alcohol, but that may restrict where it is in the store, okay, in the stores that you can sell in. So that's something to check. It's not my kind of product, but hey, my kids drink it.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, well done. Again, I'm not a seltzer guy. It is too much sugar for me. But I think you've done something here, which is you talked about the vibe, the voice of the brand, which all brands out here should be. You really advanced in that. You've thought about kind of what the brand feels like, looks like, what people experience when they drink it, and I think you've done a great job in using the power of a brand for one so young. So well done on that, and I think also again you got a good handle on your numbers. You kind of your roadmap where you intend to go, ambitious though it may be. You know, if you don't have it, then you don't know where you're going anyway. So you have it, you get a good handle, they kind of roll off your tongue. Again, we're missing unit economics. We don't have a visibility into what does it cost for you to make it. You're using a co-man, is it your future to use the co-man? We don't have to do that right now, but again, in any investor presentation, you got to be able to show folks where the delta is between the cost and the sales price, right? So obviously, at some point, you're going to think about, do you make it yourself? The same thing Spindrift or any of these other companies that we know have grown up have done. At some point, they take over that themselves, but you may not want to do that. I don't know. It depends if you get California, I guess. But again, unit economics, you gotta spell that out for folks to say, this is the cost, this is the sell, right? So, but your roadmap numbers are really good. Your target audience is really good. I assume you didn't really say how you go to market. Do you target? Do you using the social platforms, or how you're getting the word out? But I don't know if you've seen Liquid Death, but this thing is now $100+ million brand. It's
Liquid
water.
Death.
It's just water. It's sparkling or regular water, and their main thing is really around. Use plastic, right? But it's $100 million brand. Basically, just on not even on the, because the water isn't, from my perspective, even that good.
or it's not any better than any other water, but
Yeah.
the marketing is phenomenal. So you've got really good marketing, and you also have something that you've got. So to the final point really is, again, for all you got to think about competition. You talked about White Claw, truly at 77% of market share, but I'm not sure I really heard you tell me why, other than I'm a man, do I buy this by White Claw? You know, what's the difference? Is it your flavors that set it apart? Is it the fact that your brand? Again, these are questions for just feedback for you. But again, addressing competition, you're right in terms of naming who the competitors are and what the market's made up of and where you think you can grow. But we need to work on, why does a customer buy yours versus buying, one of these other ones? So,
thank you.
You know, I wouldn't hit hard on having the hardest seltzer. Okay.
Okay.
I mean, hit hard on other things, because just having more alcohol in it is, that's going to, it's certain parts of the population that's going to push them away from it.
Yeah,
Okay.
it's the hardest seltzer is more of like the vibe, the lifestyle to it, I guess, not in just in the sense of alcohol content.
Yeah, but I mean, just make sure you're not kicking it up on the alcohol.
Okay.
Okay, because that's going to limit it.
You can tell he doesn't drink IPAs.
I will just tell you that the numbers out now show you there's a distinct, any global set of data you look at, the alcohol consumption per capita is going down, and actually 1 in 3 Americans self-declare that they're not using alcohol. So there's a trend out there of no and low alcohol. So to Mark's point, yeah, if it isn't really your calling card, then maybe work on that. Stay in range with the others so that it doesn't stand out like you're going against you're going to make headwinds for yourself. But you've got a lot going in the right direction, and obviously you got momentum. So
thank you.
Congratulations on that.
Thanks.
Yeah, can I just say one thing about that, because I'm not your target market because I don't drink alcohol. I'm one of those 3. But so my question was, why the 6.9? Because that doesn't seem to be in alignment with trends, and I also wonder, is that really serving the consumer? If with this kind of drink you could easily overconsume, and are you really serving them? So that was just my big question. Why does it have to be 6.9? I definitely wouldn't market it, but if you're not going to market it, why does it have to be so high?
So we went 6.9%. We tested anywhere from 6 to about 8, and we fell in that 7-ish range, and we went with 6.9% just because it is a selling number to the target audience we're going after, the college student number. So that's kind of adds a fun factor to the drink.
Yeah, as a mom of a college kid, I would just prefer that
Yeah.
it was lower.
Don't drink too many.
I'm good without that. I think just in general, I thought you did a great job with just clear, concise communication throughout the presentation. It was easy to follow where you've been, where you're going, and I think a good pitch is you want to captivate somebody so they want to have a continued conversation. I thought you did a good job of that.
Thank you. Well, no other questions. Thank you, guys.
And up next is Apple Valley Cider Company.
Yeah.
I can get in here without knocking anything over. We got 2 bottles of each of 4 types.
Is it clean cider or is this a hard cider?
This is a hard cider.
Oh, it is. Okay.
What's your company? Apple Valley Cider.
Population of the drink, so. I know. No, you can save that one.
Okay.
Peanut foul free.
To my personal Facebook later, just as a shot at the table. And people can decide who had more fun.
Yeah.
Pitching or the people judging.
You start with something different.
So
Yeah, it's got to be.
these guys just had me open one bottle. Would you guys like to
Yeah, here, guys. Because I've just opened.
Which one did you open?
I don't know.
The strawberry rhubarb.
Yeah.
This one is black.
I'll try one.
And then the other one I really want you guys to open is the peach. All right, my name is Kevin Williams. Are you guys ready? Sorry. My name is Kevin Williams. I'm the owner of Apple Valley Cider Company. We're in Penrose, Colorado. Penrose is actually one of the places that has a long history of agriculture and growing apples in particular. Fremont County, the history of apples in Fremont County goes all the way back to the Cripple Creek Gold Rush, when farmers started growing produce in the valley there and then sending them up on the train to Cripple Creek, the Florence to Cripple Creek Railroad. So Penrose, my family's been in Penrose for 5 generations. Just, going on the theme of the night. Penrose used to have a lot of orchards. When I was a kid, a lot of us worked in the orchards in the summertime. Drought between 2000 and 2004 really did a number on a lot of the orchards, and there's only a few of them left. And the ones that are left are a lot smaller than they were back then. So in 2017, I was actually the brewer for Walters. I was the head brewer with Andy for Walters for the first 4 years. 2017, I decided I wanted to do something on my own. And I was from Penrose, and there is a lot of opportunity in cider. It's a growing market. There are a ton of great breweries in Colorado. You can make really great beer and really have a hard time standing out. There were only a handful of cideries. So we wanted to do something different. Started making hard cider. So we do everything from 100% apple juice and pureed fruit. We don't add sugar to anything. We do sweeten all of our ciders just a little bit with apple juice. We'll ferment apple juice dry and then sweeten it with unfermented juice. So we just keep a real simple recipe. One of the things that we like to pride ourselves on is the flavor. So because we sweeten with unfermented apple juice, you bring back a lot of the aroma and body and apple character that you lose during fermentation. So basically our biggest marketing tool is getting people to taste it. We go to events and we do a temporary sales room in different places. I do the first Friday in Canyon City every week. Go get in front of people, talk to them, let them taste it, and that's the biggest thing we've used to grow so far. We are also an award-winning cidery. Our Black Currant was the 2019 Great Lakes International Cider Competition Best-in-Class Fruit Cider out of 175 entries. All of our ciders have won medals in multiple competitions. Excuse me. Are those all hard ciders?
Yes, those are all hard ciders. So those are the flavors that you have in front of you. We do our semi-sweet apple, which is 100% apple juice, cherry, which I didn't actually bring tonight, peach, and black currant. And then the strawberry rhubarb was one that we just did as a temporary, as a seasonal this year. So our numbers so far, other than 2020, which was a struggle for everybody, we've been on a continuous growth, and we've also just introduced retail. Okay, thanks. So in the beginning, we were focused mainly on wholesale, and then starting last year, we started opening our retail space on Saturdays and Sundays, and opening our tasting room to the public. What we would like to do is expand on that, on both the wholesale and the retail. Our team, like I said, I was the brewer for Walters for 4 years. I come from a beer background.
Robin Sams is our superstar salesperson. She comes from a wine background. Cider is technically a wine, but you serve it cold and you carbonate it kind of like a beer. So between the two of us, coming from a beer background and a wine background, it really makes a nice fit to be able to sell and talk to people, whether they come from a wine background or a beer background. We can get into those. We can talk the same language, and our market is kind of the same as the seltzer. A lot of people, the younger generations, are drinking more diverse drinks, cider being one of them, gluten-free option for a lot of breweries. So our biggest draft customer is a brewery in Colorado Springs where they're gluten-free option. So it really fits with the beer community and with people that either don't drink beer or need a gluten-free option where beer isn't that fit. What we really would like to do is expand. Right now, we self-distribute. We have Robin in our little white van, and she does about a 50-mile radius from Penrose. We've reached a kind of a saturation point in liquor stores where we've got really good coverage in El Paso County, Pueblo County, Fremont County. We go up to Monument, we go out to West Cliff, Salida, Buena Vista, but we really need to be able to have a better economical model to package and to deliver either farther in Colorado or to be able to partner with a distributor. So right now our production is kind of small, so we're having trouble with a distributor getting interest because we need to be able to have more production capacity. So we'd like to add canning. The bottles are great. It's a good look. I like the way that they look and sit on the shelf, but canning opens us up to a lot of markets that we can't reach right now. Hiking, golf courses, places where you can't have glass. And plus, it's a lot more economical. I can bottle a case for about $17.50 in packaging. I can can it for about $12.50. So, and actually, if we scale that, the higher you scale that, the better it gets. So we're looking into bigger tanks, canning machine, employees and delivery trucks, or the increasing capacity and partnering with a distributor. We'd actually like to keep our self-distribution model, but we realize that that's not going to be something that we can get farther out. We know we have to partner with somebody eventually, but we're okay sticking with self-distribution for now. Thank you everybody for your time, and I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Product tastes great, so
Thank you.
that. Have you connected with Scott Fab on training needs?
No.
Okay.
No. So they're actually kind of expensive.
Are they? Yeah.
I have shopped around for equipment, and I have looked at a couple of different manufacturers. Actually shopping on the used market right now because there's a lot of opportunity in the used market. There's more used equipment out there right now than there has been previously.
Okay. Send me an email because I can introduce you to the CEO of Scott Fab, not as a sale, but that he'll know where to look.
Okay.
So happy to help on that front. One thing that was missing for me is just a little bit more of the story of like where you want to go from a numbers perspective, right?
Okay.
Like know where you want to go, want to grow, want to expand, but just telling the business side of the story was the one thing that I felt was missing a little bit.
So I really love the brand story and its connection to place. And it I like how you tell it on the label, and so that I think that's really strong and cool. I'm wondering if you have any plans for a low alcoholic or no alcoholic version of this as part of that trend toward people like me who are looking for those options.
So there's a difference in the business because we are a winery, and when you sell it as a no alcohol model, then it becomes a food product. And so there's a lot more regulation and a lot more that you have to really get into. But you know, a low alcohol model, I could.
Yeah, that could
I
be,
could do
you know,
something
that's
like
what
that.
the trends are showing.
Ours are all 6% alcohol. That's just, we did the same thing as these guys, where we went for a flavor profile, you know, and if you get less than that, it starts to get a little bit thin, and you have to counteract that with high carbonation. And I prefer lower carbonation and more body and more actual apple character.
So good job, and I want to say, you know, for me, you know, less sugar. As I've gotten older, I just have less tolerance for sugar, particularly in drinks and stuff. So the semi-sweet for me was my favorite. I thought you had the other ones were, the flavor was good, but there was a lot of it felt like a lot of extra sugar.
And we don't add any processed sugar, so everything is 100% apple juice and fruit. So it's
yeah, but when you add juice, you add sugar. So
yeah,
and there's no nutritionals on the bottle. So
I'm small enough; I'm not required to yet. So
okay.
yeah,
Right,
I haven't done lab
but
testing.
it is increasingly something people are looking at. You know, the kombucha, for example, has got 12 grams of sugar in it, 10 to 12 grams, and it's the category sort of flattening out. But you've got this whole new generation of different types of waters coming on, and even lower sugar kombucha formulations things. So there's a growing market for folks, and because sugar tied directly to diabetes, and there's no question about it, right? There's too much sugar consumed. So I think thinking about that as you develop the product line is a good idea. But also, you notice the music came out just for you, right? I don't know what that says, but maybe it's curtains for you. I don't know. But I think you said something which is simple. You know, we're simple. Simple is good. You know why simple is good? Because a lot of food products have gotten the ingredient decks go on a mile long, and the customer starts to get confused, and you know, what's this, and it's an isolate, and simple, your simplicity is a virtue in the marketing, and feel it clearly. The whole thing of the cidery is a very artisanal term, and people are yearning for that sort of food experience. The pasta is an example of that. You know, they're yearning for the taste and the experience, and so. But again, we got to have modern nutritionals. We got to deal with the fact that folks are concerned about what's in it. You got to tell them that. Transparency, simplicity. The other part of simplicity is transparency. You got to be clear what's in it and how you're doing it. So that's easy for you to do, but you want to use that as part of your story. As far as the delivery goes, you know, one of the things entrepreneurs need to learn is what's actually core to their business. What does it really not matter if somebody else does? Now, if you're taking your product to somebody's home, ringing the doorbell yourself and saying, here I am, I'm bringing you your cider, it's core to your business. But if you're just getting it from point A to B, it's not actually core to your business. So if you actually want to grow it, you probably need to find a partner who can do that, who's in that business, and let go of that. It's not actually core. What you should be spending time on is the apples and how you make them, you know, the combinations and the flavors and the experience of the cider and all that. So always asking yourself, what's core to my business? What's really sets me apart in the market versus those things that somebody else could do that doesn't really matter if you do, because you can't spend money on it. You don't have endless money or endless time. You want to spend it on things that really make a difference for your brand. So.
Well, on the small scale, and the reason we did self-distribution initially is because that's another 30%. I mean, you end up spending 30% of the margin on the distributor. So starting
but you just
small.
you told us you want to expand. So
yeah. So now
so somewhere in there is the answer. Maybe you do both for a while.
Yeah.
You do both within a certain radius, and then beyond that, you let somebody take a go at it. But you'll have to figure that out. But remember that you can't be all things to all people, and you can't do all things yourself. It just doesn't. You know, unless you're going to stay small. If you want to get larger, you'll have to get some partners.
Right, and the idea was to really try to make up that 30% with economy of scale, and once we can increase the production and you know.
Which again, we didn't get great visibility into unit economics, but that's something you can work on as we go down. But the semi-sweet is delicious. I can really taste the intensity of the apples and the amount of your craftsmanship in that really comes through. So thank you.
I think you should actually focus on your story you told as well. At the beginning, it being a 5th generation from there and all that. I think that, particularly as your market
for right now is Colorado. So you're actually, you know, this is, you know, homegrown, it's here, so on and so forth. I think that's, you know, just play on that as one of your messages out there. Other than that, I felt that the product had a good mouth on it, and that the flavors were identifiable, which is important. Okay, and so I think it's a good product. I just feel that there's a growing amount of these kind of products out there, so you have to find that way to differentiate yourself. And if you're staying in Colorado, focusing on the fact that it's the history here is really important.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, you're in a difficult situation, right? Because Colorado classifies ciders as wine, not as beer.
Right, so I can't do Whole Foods.
Exactly, you can't do all of, but I mean, you can do Whole Foods. Whole Foods has 2 liquor stores.
Oh.
Everybody now has 2 to 3 liquor stores. So I think to Walter's point, one of the things you might think about is instead of investing in additional people you're paying to drive and vehicles and maintenance and all that, is actually investing in a salesperson who can get out to those liquor stores, right? I mean, at the end of the day, you want to land someone like Hazel's or Tipsy's or Applejacks, you know,
yeah,
great,
big
yeah,
places.
the big liquor store brands.
And that's kind of the way we focused on Pueblo County and El Paso County as well. We're in the bigger stores, but you know, if my favorite thing to tell anybody that asks if, you know, we're going to get into their liquor store is, you know, if your liquor store says that I'm too expensive, then that is not the place for my product anyway.
Exactly.
You know, we want to be in a discerning market. If our stuff sits on a shelf in a store that doesn't move that kind of a product, then the only thing it does is gets old, and it's got a great shelf life, but it doesn't have an infinite shelf life.
Right. I love the concept of the can, right? Really opens you up for the summertime. And like you said, the parks and stuff, since, you know, people, you know, most parks don't allow glass, but they allow cans.
Right.
So I think that's a great move. Haven't seen a lot of cider companies going off and doing that. I would say, you know, it's interesting because a little personal, my daughter-in-law works for one of the biggest gluten-free breweries in the state.
Oh, okay.
And it going to all the breweries and being like, we want to be your cider option, I think is a great thing. And we're a local cider. So, you know, it sounds like you're doing that in Pueblo and El Paso County. Start moving that up, right? Start hitting more and more breweries and be like, hey, we're a local cider. We want to be your gluten-free option for ciders. Most breweries now offer they have at least one gluten-free company, and they have a cider when you go. So I think that's a great plan. The only other thing I would add on as you think about that is just playing that local concept, right? I mean, there are more local ciders, but there's not that many local ciders. Yeah. You've got a great niche, you got a great story, tell the story. And there is a way for you to be a 0 alcohol, or basically, you know, a 0.1 alcohol, and keep your license. So go back through. Think about all the brands out there that have a alcohol-free beer right now. I mean, one of our top-selling beers right now is Heineken 0.0, and it's, you know, so obviously they're not having some of the same issues. So there's some ways around that. I just don't know what they are. So, but I would look into it and see what you could do to do like a really low content, or, you know, in Colorado, 3.2 still has a name, right? Maybe you have one that's the light aspect of it, right?
All right.
So.
Yeah, unfortunately, I'm also one of the I take everybody's word for a great product, because I don't drink either, so I don't get a chance to partake it or the man paw. So, but I can say, you know, I look at the labeling and I look at, you know, both, you know, even the seltzer, and I didn't get a chance. I didn't point it out then. It's something I would have tried. It's visually appealing, and I like it. I like the story, to be honest with you, because I, you know, grew up in Pueblo. I remember going up 50 and just seeing, when you drive up that main street, you used to see all the cider just lined up, and so it was known for apples. It was known for apple cider. So I love the story. I'd like to see you keep pushing that story because I guess it's a bias to Southern Colorado, but everything I like about it looks really good. But again, like we echoed, I wish there was a no alcohol version that I can try it.
All right.
But it is what it is.
Thanks.
All right, well, that concludes our pitch competition for 2021. So, as far as what happens next, if you are staying for dinner, you can just pop down the hall and get checked in. The doors have opened for that. I have some goodie bags for our judges because they clearly need to take more stuff with them. And again, just want to say thank you so much to everybody that pitched. Thank you to the judges. Everybody just give yourself a round of applause. This was awesome. So we'll see you guys at dinner. And for the teams, if I don't see you after this, I will, we had a category on the second page of the score sheet where they could circle yes or no to leave comments and feedback and other stuff for you guys. So we will actually take those and scan them and email them to you next week. So is there anything I missed? All right, awesome. Have a great night, guys. Thank you so much.